It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. All right, folks, we are live. We just had George Norrie, the second biggest talk show host in the world, 20 million listeners a week, on with us for 2 hours. Very gracious to join us. We called him, said, we do an hour. He said, I'll do 2. Just a real guy, a great guy. And it just blows me away to have people like George Norrie and Matt Drudge and others who've really helped us get where we're at. You, the listeners, though, are even more important than they are or I am. We all have, kind of a focal point for people, but we're kind of a manifestation of the lust for liberty. I hate to use the word lust, but I mean, what do you call it? The passion for liberty. And look, I was sitting here about a month and a half ago. You notice we only promoted this about 6, 7, 8 days before. Technically about 9 days before, but really started hyping it about 7 days out. And normally I did these a month out because I'm like, you know what? We can fund things probably. I can get some extra sponsors. We can keep the expansion going, but yeah, it is a depression. Okay, we'll do the money bomb. And we need to get this TV equipment. We need to get these satellite uplinks. We need to be able to pay for the subscription every month to get them up. It's a lot of money. And we don't get all the tax exemptions the big mega banks get. We don't get any banker bailout money or tax money or like MSNBC that takes money from you. If you think this information should be getting out and you want to see it free-to-air satellite, you want to see it, TV isn't just satellites now. For like 10 years, but now almost exclusively, it's mainly these big file sharing systems that you sign up with and get vetted to be part of, where you can use other media stuff, they can use theirs. Then you've got to let those stations, AM and FM, but mainly TV, UHF, VHS cable, and foreign systems know that, hey, this is free to air. So it won't just be free to air on a satellite. And because those cover different regions and some of them are like 10,000 a month, but we're working on it. Again, because you don't make money when you put the show out to Europe and places. It's kind of like the Christian channels. They're not making money. They're getting the word out to people. And that's what this is. It's like, hey, we want the money to just put this out over the world. It's big audiences. It just doesn't make money for this operation. But we're not after money. Money is a tool to get us where we're going to defeat the globalist. But domestically, these news sharing systems, one of them, what's the name of it, John, that we've been researching and using? Yeah, Pathfire and a bunch of others. We're talking about quite a bit of money every month, but I've actually had stations ask for 5-minute vignettes, news specials, the show. I mean, it's already happening. I'm ranting. We've got a special guest. The point is, you think we've grown from 3 million 5 years ago a week to 15 million? Folks, it's like the song, baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. No, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby. Let me tell you, you get behind us, keep spreading the word, keep buying the books, the videos, James Wesley Rawles books that we sell, Joel Scalzon's preparedness books, all of it. We promote what we believe in. It's very simple. If I use something and believe in it, boom, I'm selling it to you to fund the operation. Because I like sleeping good at night. And just go donate, InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com or 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. We've got crew right here to take your call and take your donation right now, InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com with a free video feed. Spread that link to everybody, or 888-253-3139. And we've got free video feeds, again, at InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com. Help get those out. James Wesley Rawles is with us for the next 45 minutes. And then I'm going to go rest, not really sleep, because then I'd be in a coma to going coast to coast to AM tonight. Then I'm back. 48-hour transmission. James Wesley Rawles. We should have him back more often. People just love this guy. We're going to get into so many of the points that he's really concerned about. He's been an enthusiastic survivalist since his teenage years. He's a top survivalist, survivalblog.com. He's got a new best-selling book out. You know how I knew he had a best-selling book out? My wife bought it, and I read it 2 nights ago. It's in our preparedness area. in the basement. He has a bachelor's art degree from San Jose University and a minor degree in military science, history, and military. Former U.S. Army intelligence officer who held a top security clearance with special background investigation and access to sensitive compartmentalized information. He was awarded Officer Specialty 35A Tactical All Sorts Intelligence Officer, an additional skill identifier 5M Electronic Warfare Officer. He achieved a rank of captain, attended the Army NBC Defense Officer School with the Northern Warfare School at Fort Greely, Alaska, survivalblog.com. He joins us now here, just since he was on 3 or 4 months ago. It's all happening. The 1.6 billion bullets, the preparations for martial law, the military checkpoints, not drills on the highways, aircraft carriers massing in the Gulf, all of it. It is bonkers. And we've got a bunch of points he wants to go over. Prepare to be pulled off the plane. There has attempts to put flags on his site, attempts to crash his website, ping attacks. Yeah, it's all crazy. A political attack on his writings on Wikipedia to delete articles about his books. Just so many points we're going to make. But Mr. Rawles, James Wesley Rawles, one of the most highly respected survivalist prepper researchers out there. Where are we in America, but worldwide, right now on the grand chessboard?
Well, Alex, I think we are on the slippery slope is where we are. There's obviously huge economic problems that are right on the horizon, and people need to be prepared for those. But there's also the whole political milieu, and it's obvious that if anyone is in the liberty movement or the constitutionalist movement or the prepper movement or the Oath Keeper movement, anyone who has a high profile in any of those movements can expect to be targeted.
Anybody who isn't an anti-American piece of filth, anyone who is a real American, basic, red-blooded, good person, we're the bad guys.
Yeah, that's right. It's really funny that the people that used to be held up and put on a pedestal are now considered enemies of the state. Anyone who has traditional American values, anyone who's an outspoken Christian, anyone who is opposed to NDAA, anyone who is critical of the government's handling of money, and anyone who's critical of our U.S. Treasury being so deeply involved with the private banking cartel called the Federal Reserve. Anyone who points any of that out is going to get targeted. And
I think you're alluding to the confirmed.
Be ready for it.
Absolutely, I think you're alluding to the prepper put on a no-fly list, can't get back to the U.S. from the state of Hawaii. I mean, this is
there will be selective enforcement, just like that.
All right, well, I mean, continue along those lines. You yourself, I don't talk a lot about this just because so much of it happens it would get old for the audience, but the amount of harassment we've come under in the last month is epic, which again, added to everything else, I can just feel the energy level rising towards a crescendo.
Well, yes. I think it's obvious that something's coming to a head. And I think that as time goes on, we'll see more and more hack attacks on websites with denial of service type attacks where they basically try to ping websites off the internet. We'll see tracking of website visitors with things like the cookie attachments they did to my website a few months back. We were able to pretty well document that. And it all got traced back to a big government data center. There's also going to be things like selective enforcement, like the guy who just got pulled off the plane in Hawaii this week. We need to be ready for that, and we need to be just steadfast. We can't let our movements be muzzled by either by the government or by organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center that are very selectively trying to besmirch people with basically painting people with a broad brush.
They're coming after us because they know we know the game plan. And they know everybody's starting to listen to us, James. They know that our people are listening to us. I mean, I can't even, if I told people the amount of visitors we get a day now, I can't even believe it myself. 3 million a day just to Infowars.com now the last week.
Wow.
I mean, this is scaring the criminals. So people better know
the
we're not.
That be are feeling the heat, and they're in desperation mode right now. And all of these steps that they're taking against the Liberty Movement and the Prepper Movement, and the Oath Keeper Movement, and Constitutionalist Movement, all of those steps they're taking are signs of their desperation. It shows you how close they are to losing their grip.
Yes.
And they're already losing their grip on the mass media. The mass media, the mainstream media, is losing more and more market share with every passing day to the alternative media, to blogs. They're losing it to radio and television shows like yours. They're losing it to podcasts and so forth. More and more people are turning to alternative media, and at this point, they basically cannot stop it unless they completely shut down the mass media and shut down the internet, which just can't happen. Not unless they want to crash the entire system.
I agree. And again, I'm trying to sit here with a sock in my mouth when you're talking because everything you're saying makes me just want to confirm everything you're saying. But I mean, obviously the police and military are starting to really figure out bad guys are in control of the government. And it's a lot deeper than Obama. Geopolitically, I know you're all about getting ourselves ready, and that's the most important thing at the micro level. But if we look at the macro, I mean, where is the world right now? I mean, where is it going? Why? I mean, how much crazier is it going to get? What are some triggers?
Well, I think it's going to get a lot crazier, Alex, because the austerity measures that they've implemented in Greece and Spain and Italy are really just the beginning. And if you think we've seen a lot of riots in the streets of Greece and Spain, that's actually just the first stages of what may turn into civil wars in those countries. Because the level of austerity that they're going to have to implement is huge. They're basically going to have to shut down their entire welfare states. They're going to have to deny pension funds that people have been promised for decades. And they're going to cut off people from the banking world. They're going to cut people off from all the traditional government entitlements that have been in place for many, many years in Europe. And the backlash is going to be huge. The economic crisis that's unfolding in Europe really is just still in its early stages, and it is yet to really spill over into the U.S., Canada, and especially Japan. I think Japan is actually going to be the next major country that's going to implode. They may implode before we do because their debt level is so much higher versus GDP than here in the United States. So I think things are going to get a lot worse in Europe, certainly a lot worse before they get better. And in the short term, I think there actually may be, because of all of the capital outflows coming out of Europe, a short-term boost to the American stock market, simply because investors are completely scared to death of European investments. But eventually, the gig will be up here as well, and things will implode.
Continue. I'm fighting to not interrupt. Please continue.
Okay. Well, as things fall apart in Europe, we'll see a massive clampdown by the powers that be. They'll want to try to muzzle the media in Europe. There will no longer be a lot of coverage of street protests. If anything, the news that starts coming out of Europe in the new year, I think, is going to become pablum. We're going to see lots of programming coming out of Europe on cultural events, and people in lederhosen drinking beer and singing. And we're
going to see like bizarre, truly Orwellian cover stories.
the announcements of new car models coming out of BMW and Audi, okay? That's the kind of news that they're going to shove down our throats from Europe, because they won't want to focus on all the street protests that are going on, because they can't let the cat out of the bag that the majority of the citizenry in Greece is fed up and they refuse to take it. They won't be focusing on things like the people in Iceland and Ireland backing out of the EU. And they won't be focusing on alternative markets that are springing up, where people are setting up barter networks, for example, because there's no cash available in Greece and Spain and Italy and Portugal. I think we're going to see a veritable news blackout in Europe starting early next year. And it's going to be up to the alternative media. It's going to be up to individual citizens with, small webcams and cell phone cameras that get on the internet to spread the word about what's actually going on in Europe. The truth will get out, but it's not going to come from the mass media. It's going to come from the alternative media.
Expanding on that, last time we had you on, you broke down your geopolitical view and, pointed out the elite is not in total control. So many of our sources that have really been proven accurate in the past say, for the first time in really modern history, there's a split within the elites because it's getting down to endgame time, and there's a lot of backstabbing going on, and that things are not going well. I think you alluded to the fact that the establishment is not happy campers right now. Where would you say the posture of the engineers, the social engineers, is right now? I mean, are things going well? Because I see articles where they brag, yeah, world government's here, we've set everything up. Meanwhile, the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center say it don't exist. Al-Qaeda is being used to attack Syria, but we've got to give our rights up because Al-Qaeda, is hiding under every table. I mean, things are just becoming cartoon-level insane to where I can't even believe it's gotten to this point, and I'm pretty darn jaded.
Well, Alex, there's definitely two different camps that exist within the European powers that be. One camp is trying to tear the system apart as best they can so that they'll have an excuse to implement things like biochipping or things like a global currency to replace the euro. The other camp basically has seen that they've gone too far, and they're worried about revolution or counter-revolution going on in Europe, and they're scared for their own lives. They're afraid that they're going to be swinging from lampposts. So they're trying to slow the other camp down. They're trying to stabilize the situation. They don't want to see any sort of collapse that would endanger their lives or their property. So it's difficult to predict how things are going to play out because there's definitely two camps with two different approaches that are working simultaneously. I don't know who's going to win out. All I can say is that at a personal level, for anyone in Europe and then eventually here in the States, families had better be prepared to hunker down for an extended period of time with commerce completely disrupted. There won't be food on the supermarket shelves for weeks or months. There won't be jobs. People aren't going to have, there's going to be massive layoffs. There's going to be attempts to evict people from thousands or tens of thousands of homes daily. So people need to have a cash reserve. They need to have a food reserve. They need to have a good source of water and home water filtration because the civic water supplies may be disrupted. And the power grids may, in a worst case, the power grids may go down.
Hell, the power grids may go down.
A backup plan.
The globalists are already shutting down many of our coal power plants. I live in Austin, James, and in 5 years, my power prices have doubled. And they're on the news saying I'm in a model UN city, and they're going to shut down the final city power plant so we can buy from General Electric plants at even higher prices. I mean, like you said, they're doing everything they can to shut this country down.
Well, Alex, there's definitely change in the wind, and I recommend that all your listeners take full advantage of all the educational resources that you have through Infowars.com. I recommend that they get in touch with some of your advertisers for things like food storage, for things like water filtration, and for alternative investments that'll put them outside of the dollar paradigm and into practical tangibles, things like precious metals.
Listen to this. I talked to a well driller, because I already have a well on my property, but it's only 500 feet deep. I want to go 1,000 into the aquifer. And he said, you know, the crazy thing is I used to hear your show, and I thought you were full of it. He goes, did you know all the rich people around here are drilling wells and putting in bunkers and food? I mean, what do you think's going on if the wealthier people are drilling wells and getting food? What do they know is coming, James?
Well, if my current crop of consulting clients is any indication, a lot of people on Wall Street, a lot of people in the banking world, and hedge fund managers in particular are definitely concerned because they're stocking up. They're hiring me to help them pick out survival retreats. They're stocking them for multiple years. The folks that are selling underground shelters are doing a booming business right now. And we're not talking nuclear war here. We're talking about people that want to have an underground shelter because they're worried about their physical safety because of civil unrest. That's how bad it is.
Yeah, more of hidden safe houses.
Well, yes. There's definitely a lot of people that are looking for retreat-type properties. And it's really odd, Alex, because these are people who traditionally have had no interest whatsoever. These are people who are not, bomb shelter oriented or chemical, biological, or radiological defense oriented at all.
No. On my street, these
are simply people who are in either mainly in the banking sphere. And I don't know whether it's just because they have their ear to the ground in terms of what's going to happen with the global credit collapse, or whether they have seen, have had contacts in the corporate world with corporate executives that are warning them that something's coming. But for some reason, suddenly there's thousands of people. Again, it's the majority of them that have contacted me have been with hedge funds. The number of hedge fund managers that I have had for consulting clients has absolutely blossomed.
Yeah, that's the same.
I have more hedge fund managers currently on my roster of consulting clients than I had combined for the last 5 years. And that's all happened in just the last 6 months.
Survivalblog.com, and it's making people mad that people are listening to you, best-selling author and researcher, survivalblog.com. James Wesley Rawles is our guest. Let's talk about this then, because you've got a lot of points here that we need to go over. But we're sitting here watching this. The nightmare is starting to become a reality. It's being confirmed by the day that the worst scenarios aren't just possibilities, but now probabilities. How do you see the chain reaction coming? People like Gerald Celente, people like Max Kaiser, but Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, who's been somewhat restrained, now says, yeah, look for collapse. Joseph Stiglitz, myself, I live this 18 hours a day. I'm seeing all the signs just where I live out in the hill country. It's not the richest area, but there are some wealthy people out there. I talk to the realtors. I mean, they're like, yeah, bunkers are going in all over the place. I go and look and see bunkers. I go and find a NSA spy base 2 miles from where I live. I'm driving and there's an Army maneuver going on. I see intel reports, news coming in with Army checkpoints all over, not drilling, but really running checkpoints. I mean, it's all going from preparation to a slow kind of rollout now, kind of a soft martial law at levels I've never seen, James.
Well, the Texas Hill Country may be an exception, but overall, we're definitely seeing a ramp up. If you look at what's coming out of the intelligence fusion centers, for example, the BATF just released a report very detailed about connections between outlaw biker gangs and the U.S. military, for example. A PDF of that was just released in the last few days. And it's scary to see how much these intelligence fusion centers depend upon political action groups like the Southern Poverty Law Center. It's like one is feeding the other and vice versa. There's definitely a ramp up that's going on.
You're talking about an echo chamber.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think the main threat to people in the prepper movement, the constitutionalist movement, is going to be selective enforcement. I don't think people at this point need to worry about a massive roundup and you know, the apocryphal, you know.
No, they're going to catch us at security checkpoints, trump stuff up on us.
Well, yes, and unfortunately, the way that our statutory system is set up here in the States, at any given time, any given American is probably in violation of 2 or 3 federal laws. They just don't realize it. There's thousands and thousands of laws on the book that come purely out of statutory jurisdiction. These are mala prohibitum. They're not mala in se. And I'm sure you know the difference.
Yes.
So if they want to nail somebody, they can nail them. And if they can't find something that someone is engaged in, they will either plant evidence or enact some new diktat coming out of some bureaucracy.
Well, look at the new executive orders interrupt, where they say, if we say you're involved with anybody in Africa who might aid somebody we don't like, we're taking everything you got. Or if we say you're connected to somebody connected to Iran, we take everything you've got. But, I mean, what about this? What about people that work for the system, realizing it's all starting to come down because nobody's holding the corruption in check? How about people in government, FBI, you name it? And I know a lot of them actually are doing this, not doing this. You know, good guys blew the whistle about Fast and Furious. What about not taking some veteran to jail for no reason because you get them at a checkpoint? I mean, what about people in the system going, you know what, this is crazy. We're not going to be part of this.
Oh, I'm confident that more and more of that will go on. More and more people are going to simply say no. People who are sworn officers, who are under delegation of authority for law enforcement agencies in the military, are simply going to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that. This is you know, this goes beyond our mandate. This goes beyond our constitutional authority. We can't do this. And they're just going to say no to that sort of enforcement. And a few of them are probably going to be very publicly drummed out of their respective services. All I can say is more power to them, because eventually, even in the worst of police states, you have people that stand up. You know,
East Germany.
Like even in Nazi Germany, Hermann Goering's brother was involved in trying to get Jews out of concentration camps. I mean, there are going to be people who will stand up and do the right thing.
Well, yeah, because it's so bad to be involved in evil. Once the evil's being committed, you can literally, like chains from some type of, you know, Christmas carol, the chains of eternity are being placed on you. People are going to have their conscience burned.
Oh, definitely. And at some point, people are going to have to make a conscious decision. And my daily prayer is that the majority of people who are sworn officers are going to make the right decision. They're going to stand up for the document. They're not going to stand still and allow unconstitutional laws to be enforced.
Well, everything else is empty. Let me ask you this question. The different factions that run the global system, they've kind of gone to the point of no return, in my view. They've committed this engine of takeover that's so dangerous that if they try to stop it, it would chew them up. So now they're all in. That's a very dangerous enemy to face. Do you agree they've committed this, or is there any way to stop it? And what is their end game then if they're successful?
Well, boy, that's a whole bucket of worms, Alex, but I'm not sure if it's gotten to the point where they can't stop it or at least slow it down, because they could certainly attempt to set things right. Now, once they've created the climate for a global credit collapse and global hyperinflation, which they have through quantitative easing, and there's monetization going on both sides of the Atlantic right now, that they may not be able to stop. Likewise, the number of derivatives contracts that's built up and the counterparty risk that's developed may be very difficult to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So there are aspects of it that they can't really stop, but they certainly could step in.
Yeah.
And the problem is that they've made a lot of promises to very high-level people in the banking world who basically are the ones that put them in office. And if they try to undo things that are in the best interest of the banking world, a lot of these politicians may find themselves on the evening news with some huge scandal that is unleashed upon them.
Well, I was about to say, I agree with your analysis.
Because they're holding blackmail on so many politicians on both sides of the Atlantic. It may be difficult for some politicians to do the right thing.
Well, that's what I was about to get to. I totally agree with your analysis. It's just it's stunningly piercing here with James Wesley Rawles of survivalblog.com. The global bankers, 6 mega banks or less, they are just so arrogant, and they've never failed. But that's what Hitler did. That's what Napoleon did. They all just think, I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning, I'm winning. They don't get the fact that they're destroying their own system. While they're at it, they become disconnected. And the whole posture they've got is they intend to collapse things and then pose as saviors throughout that process. And I don't see them pulling out. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see them going all the way. Sure, there's some elements that want stability, but that's more mid-level. And even elite systems are overruled by whoever is the craziest and most arrogant and willful and has the most blackmail in the room becomes the leader. And so it's a crystallization of evil. We've now reached that Roman collapse point where it's the craziest guy rules the day.
Yeah, we don't know who our modern day Caligula will be, but he's probably there. He's probably going to step up and be the new leader of the European Union or the new global governance or whatever. And he'll be the guy to announce the imposition of wage and price controls, the imposition of currency transfer controls, and the imposition of a new global currency, and it'll probably be a completely digital currency that may not even be in physical printed form. It may be strictly on a card.
And your bank account's worth nothing, and if you don't like it, you're a terrorist. They'll send a paramilitary group by to kill you and your family.
I guess it could come to that, but all I can say, Alex, is that your listeners need to take this very seriously, make some concerted prayer first, and then prepare. Team up. People need to get smart. They need to get educated on what the risks are and the countermeasures that they need to take to mitigate those risks. They need to team up with their neighbors and friends and coworkers and fellow church congregants. They need to train, and people need to get tough physically. I mean, people need to get in better physical condition because we're in for some very tough times ahead.
Oh, buddy.
They need to wean themselves of their addictions. Get away from cigarettes, get away from all the unhealthy foods they've been eating, wean themselves from antidepressants, and become as self-sufficient as possible, because the big machine, the big trolley may be coming off the tracks, and people need to be prepared. That's what my blog's all about.
Absolutely. I hate to obsess on the police and military, but they're where the rubber meets the road. We already see Detroit police, as you know, a week and a half ago, putting up signs saying, don't come in the city, we can't protect you. years ago, different cities saying we're laying off half the cops or more. We won't respond to all these crimes, places like Oakland. And we're going to see more and more of that. What will it be like for the general population under that versus for people that are out there in this crime-ridden system? They admit crime's going up, trying to, be a cop and all that. I want to get into that. And then I want to ask the question about your view of Obama versus Romney. Is there any difference?
I don't think there's a nickel's worth of difference there. But to step back to your previous question, I think what we can look forward to in the United States and Canada is essentially two very distinct environments. You're going to have the urban cores, which will be held by the powers that be, and then you're going to have the suburbs and the rural areas, which are going to be out of their grasp. And it'll be no matter where you are, there'll be a lot of crime. There'll be a lot of physical risk. But in the countryside, I think we're essentially going to see alternative systems set up with barter networks and with, community sustainable agriculture and all this other stuff. That's all going to come together.
Almost a renaissance.
Because people are going to want to be able to check out of the system. They're not going to want the one world global governance system. They're going to basically step aside and say, sorry, we don't want that here. And when it comes right down to it, the opportunities to implement martial law will be limited to just a few cities. There just aren't enough troops to implement it nationwide.
That's right.
So the trick is, don't be in one of those cities.
What is that, New York, Chicago, L.A.?
Vote with their feet and strategically relocate. And you've had people like Joel Skousen on, who wrote a wonderful book called Strategic Relocation. He was years ahead of me, and he was one of my formative influences. He's been at this, prepared this game much longer than I have. People need to strategically relocate. They need to be moving to places like the Texas Hill Country or the American Redoubt in my region here, it consists of eastern Oregon, eastern Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. That's the main region that I'm recommending.
Yeah, Skousen, I think he agrees with you that's the best area.
Well, yeah, he lives in the inland Northwest as well. Although, since he's a Mormon, he includes Utah in the states that he recommends. I actually don't, only because Utah is so arid and relatively overpopulated. It has a higher population density than the area.
Yeah, he thinks it's good because the average people have storable food and stuff and are self-sufficient.
Well, yeah, it's definitely a cut above.
What is the biggest death trap?
The areas will be the ones that I mentioned.
What's the biggest death trap? New York City?
Yes, definitely. Specifically, Long Island, I think, will be the statistical chances of making it out of there alive are going to be in the single digits, because when everything falls apart, there will be no transit out of New York City. There's only a few bridges and tunnels that connect Long Island, and it doesn't take a lot to shut those down. And whether it's a terrorist incident or whether it's martial law or whatever, there's going to be a lot of people trapped.
Well, look at Katrina. I mean, imagine New York City and Long Island during any type of crisis. It's a death trap.
It really is. And there's a few others like it. Actually, Seattle is also very geographically isolated, for example. And there's a number of other cities where basically the number of thoroughfares out are geographically determined. And I've always been from the geographical determinist school of history, much less modern geography. You don't want to be in a major urban area when things fall apart, because from an actuarial standpoint, your chances are going to be slim to none. The big cities are going to be public health nightmares. The gangs will take over. The few police and firemen that are there are primarily going to be at home taking care of their own families. They'll be terrified. Really, they'll be so fixated on protecting their own families, they're not going to show up to work.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody who's so scared about a gun confiscation, they'll do some highly publicized events like you were saying to make us all scared and drum out troops and say troops were terrorists because they were with the evil, you know, patriots or whatever. You can see it all being scripted in TV shows and stuff. They always do that in the fantasy realm before they roll it out as the official PR as kind of a, preparation of the mind. It's so obvious when you're awake. But on average, during any collapse in any country, but especially here, the cops and everybody, they're going to stay at home with their families. So the truth is the globalists plan to let all the gangs run wild, like Argentina or wherever, so we end up begging for the troops. It won't be, hey, Army, don't come in here. It'll be, Army, get in here, fix things.
And that's essentially what happened with Hurricane Katrina, because so many cops either had fled themselves or were concerned with their families and stayed home to take care of their families. And in some cases, a few cops were out there looting with looters. There's some pretty widely circulated videos of cops being caught, looting a local Walmart. So the number of police officers that will be available to try to institute martial law, I think really is fallacious. They just don't exist. There won't be enough of them.
Well, it's just crazy to have the cops everywhere training to fight people that believe in George Washington, as we know that, and that's not a joke if you're a listener. Just look up FEMA teaches George Washington, Thomas Jefferson are bad. I mean, it's so ridiculous. We've talked to truck drivers who have like bumper stickers on their car for my website, and TSA checkpoints like scream at them and say, what is this? I mean, these guys are so disconnected. They think in America you scream at somebody for their bumper sticker. I mean, it's almost comical how pathetic these welfare people are they're hiring to be TSA, who then are at checkpoints commanding the police and military. We got about 7-8 minutes left. James Wesley Rawles, survivalblog.com is our guest. It's the InfoWars 2012 Money Bomb. 48 hours, as we know we're going into this collapse. We're just trying to, people that have the extra capital, while it's still worth something, donate to us so we can put up a full, offensive resistance to the globalists in the info war with a bunch of satellite uplinks and other things. We're reaching 15 million a week conservatively. We want to up that. But if you donate to us, I mean, your powder's dry right now on the info war. I wouldn't wait. PrisonPlanet.tv, subscriptions, buy books, videos, whatever. It all supports us. We're just really putting everything in right now to try to get the word out now. The maximum effort. Militarily, as a military historian type, I mean, what should everybody be doing in the info war? I know get ready yourself, but I'm doing that. But also we need to...
The important thing is to set up alternative venues. It's important that people get licensed as ham radio operators, for example, or at least study. They don't have to get the license itself, but they need to buy the gear and study and know how to operate ham radios. People should, if they have the opportunity, look for micro FM broadcasting equipment. People should get involved with the darknet side of the internet to see how that works. People should be ready to revert to traditional bulletin board systems with dial-up modems, because the internet may be disrupted. Think in terms of alternative communications all the way down to technology like hand-cranked mimeograph machines. I'm not kidding. It may come down to that. If you look at how the resistance was run in World War II, a lot of that was hand-cranked mimeograph machines putting out broadsheets. It could come down to that. So stock up on communications gear and alternative, especially that will serve you in your local community to get the word out. Because the powers that be may shut down a lot of other venues. They may severely limit the internet. They may block out entire regions of the country that they see as, they'll call them militia hotbeds or whatever, or terrorist nests or whatever terminology they're going to use. But they can block whole ranges of IP addresses to basically segment the internet to exclude the voices they don't want to hear. So it's important that people learn about the darknet, and it's important that people buy the gear and get the training to broadcast locally, because it may come down to that.
Well, I've said that over and over again. People can buy still, mainly from England and other places, up to 200-watt, 300-watt transmitters or amplifiers. You can hook right up to recordings, whatever, or a microphone, put up on a 50-foot little tower in your backyard and, go out 15 miles. You go out at night, put up signs, Patriot broadcast, learn the truth, go on for an hour, tell them what it's going to be. And the globalists won't be able to stop people all over doing it. And
no, there'll be way too many of them, yes.
Yeah,
right.
so I've called for 15 years. Everybody should have the equipment ready and understand. I've told people use the banners, put up little printouts. People will be desperate during this to learn the truth and fire up and tell people what's going on. They can know that, people would start listening to that frequency just to know whenever you're coming on, and that can be a rally point as well. Again, they plan to shut us down, collapse things, and have us beg for total welfare takeover. That's the plan. That's why it's so important to be prepared now, so that there's a remnant of people who are not totally dependent.
Right, and as I've mentioned in my past interviews with you, it will only be those people who are well prepared physically, the people who don't have to worry about where they're going to find their next meal, the people who have good food storage programs. Those are the people who are going to have their head up and who are going to be looking at the big picture. Everybody else is going to be so caught up in just their day-to-day existence, they won't be able to be part of an active resistance. It'll only be the people that are well squared away, that have long since had their beans, bullets, and Band-Aids squared away, who can be part of the solution.
Any other areas, you kind of sent a few points you wanted to get into about the harassment you've gone through lately?
That's kind of peripheral, but I think it is important just as a learning point for people. Most recently, on Wikipedia, there's been a politically motivated campaign to try to delete articles about my books. There's two different books, my latest novel, Founders, and the previous book, Survivors.
By the way, I had an advance copy. Just interrupt. Just interrupt.
And on the New York Times bestseller list, in the top 20, they're trying to eliminate the articles about those books, claiming that the books are non-notable, even though they were bestsellers.
Well, let me just stop you for a moment, because I had an advance copy of the book months ago that you sent me. You were very nice, excellent book. I didn't know that was officially out yet. I want to carry that as soon as I can at Infowars.com. But Founders is out. Tell people about the basic premise of that.
Sure. Founders is a novel set in the near future about a global socioeconomic collapse. And it's set in the exact same time period as my first novel, Patriots, and my second novel, Survivors. I took the approach with my sequels, instead of following the same characters farther into the future, as most sequels do, I instead focused on the same time period. So the novels are all contemporaneous, but the geography and the cast of characters is different with each sequel. So the latest one, Survivors, is set primarily in Kentucky and Tennessee, and then there's a major subplot that takes place at Malmstrom Air Force Base up in Montana. And there's also a focus on some characters from my first novel and their cross-country trek from Chicago all the way to Idaho in the midst of the collapse. So that's my latest novel, Founders. It hit number 4 on Amazon, and it was number 11 on the New York Times bestseller list the first week that it was out. But in addition to the campaign to try to get the web pages, the Wikipedia pages about my novels deleted, there's also been a concerted effort to try to slam my novels' ratings on Amazon. There's a campaign that's obviously orchestrated where people are putting up 1-star reviews of my novel.
Well, you know why? Because they know a lot of public that's scared won't read reality stuff, but they'll read historical or near-future novels. And so right. they're scared of the narrative you've put out, because you wrote books, I don't know, 20 years ago predicting all this. They're scared of you. And again, that's the sign you're having an effect. And I just can't believe these people that serve the system are busy fighting us when all we're trying to do is have a civilization. These globalists are so hell-bent on dominating that they're destroying the very system that gave them their power to begin with, which is always the downfall of the evil, as they end up destroying them.
Yes, I think they're about to be hoisted by their own petard. And all we can hope for and pray for is that we will be in the right place at the right time with the right people. That's my daily prayer. And we have to trust in God, God's providence, to protect His covenant people. And when things do fall apart, I'm confident that there'll be enough people in the right place at the right time, that there'll be a legion of folks who will be there to reinstitute constitutional government and small government. That's what we really need.
Exactly. The globalists hope is when things collapse, they can bring in total communism, controlled by the bankers who are exempt from it, as a supposed solution. But in closing, 'cause I know you've got to go. We've got another guest host coming up, Linda West, with her guests, who we're waiting right now. We're going to play a short report, and go back to them here on the InfoWars 2012 Money Bomb. But what will it be like if things really get bad with these spoiled, rotten, dumbed-down yuppie types and others who revel in being pathetic and weak and hate those of us that tried to warn them? I mean, how pathetic will it get for these people? We see Homeland Security, TV ads and print ads about zombie apocalypse, describing the public as zombies. What are they trying to get us ready for?
Well, it's difficult to say exactly how it's going to play out, but there's definitely a pampered class that exists, and they are not ready for any kind of major disruption. And I think when the economic world alone falls apart for them, that they're going to fall apart emotionally, and that they're just going to lose it, basically.
Yeah.
And if there's a total collapse, which brings the power grid down, they're going to be absolutely unprepared, because their whole world is geared around the power that they have of controlling the mass media and the whole economic apparatus via fractional reserve banking. So if that all falls apart, they're not going to be able to cope. So my advice to the people listening is, you need to have the alternative worldview. You need to have the self-sufficient worldview, the ability to revert to 19th century technology. You need to be able to provide for your own families. And there's a tremendous amount of information at my website that's all available free of charge. Again, it's survivalblog.com. Dig into those archives, print out the most important articles, and be ready, folks.
I agree. I mean, if in the 20s you had all these bankers and people by the thousands committing suicide, jumping out of windows, imagine what's going to happen when it is now sold by the media as a badge of honor to be effete and pompous and pathetic. These people, have no idea, and they are a bunch of narcissists. And I just can't imagine them when their whole bandwagon ends. And in a way, maybe it's good if it all ends, because if it just keeps happening incremental, they're going to take over. Sometimes I have the sick thought of let it go ahead and collapse. Let's get this over, kind of like having a bad fever when you're sick. But then I actually see the collapse now looming, and it's really creepy. All right, well, James Wesley Rawles, thank you so much for spending time with us. We look forward to talking to you again soon, and I want to get you on the full main radio show the next few weeks to talk about the new book, Founders.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you, sir, for coming on with me.
Pray Psalm 37 for all your listeners.
You want to quote it for people?
I can pull it open for you right now.
Absolutely, word for word. I mean, I know it, but I can't paraphrase it either here. But yeah, give it to people. Let's read that scripture on air.
Okay. Psalm 37 begins. Let me turn. Oh, I'm in Psalm 40 here. Psalm 37 begins. Do not fret because of evildoers, nor be envious of the workers of iniquity, for they shall soon be cut down like grass and wither as the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and feed on His faithfulness. Delight yourself in the Lord, and He shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. He shall bring forth your righteousness as the light, and your justice as the noonday. So, yeah, read the Psalms, folks. We know we're going to win. We know that the evil ones will be cast down. The wicked will have their judgment day.
Well, I mean, look,
Lord. That's all I can say.
Exactly. Looking at Lance Armstrong, he was a low-level corrupt guy. But, I mean, all of these arrogant, haughty people who think they're invincible, they always get destroyed. That's the thing about people that are really into evil. None of us are perfect, but those that revel in it, I've studied history. I've seen it in my own life. People that revel in how they're the best and they can't be beat, they are just begging to be smashed. It's like the Titanic. Not even God can sink this ship. Boom, maiden voyage sinks. I mean, they are just asking for it. And again, to read that top line up there about, you know, the gifts that the righteous get and the peril of the wicked ones. If you guys will put that quote back up on screen for me in there, that'd be awesome. The heritage of the righteous and the calamity of the wicked, a Psalm of David 37. Thank you so much again, Mr. Rawles.
Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you. Yeah, it's definitely a great time of peril. Any time in history, you've got a bunch of decadent, gibbering people and power-tripping control freaks in charge thinking they're invincible. Look out. Look out, look out, look out, look out. The more power I get, the more humble I get. I look at these people, the more power they get, the more out of control they get. And it scares me. It scares me for them. We're going to go to a quick break here with a special report. And then our own Linda West from California, one of our reporters, is going to be interviewing a special guest straight ahead. Hey, it's happening once in 2012. It's the Money Bomb. Contribute. InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com and check out the huge eBay auctions going on, the T-shirts you can get when you donate, one of a kind. So much there right now, InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com, or call toll free. You can talk to our operators and donate, 888-253-3139.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Money Bomb 2012. Hi, I'm Linda West, and I'm reporting out of Los Angeles, and I am so happy to be part of the Money Bomb this year. I got to spend some time with everybody in Austin, and you guys are doing an awesome job out there. So, where do I start? I wanted to talk a little bit about how I ended up coming to find Alex Jones and why I'm here today. Basically, my ex-husband was a recording star, and, you know, we had a good life going, and I would do a lot of lounging around on the couch watching Entertainment Tonight. And don't get me wrong, I have my own things that I've done, but at that time I was kind of leisurely, and he would listen to Alex Jones all the time, and I'd hear Alex in the back kind of ranting about something, and I'd be like, what are you listening to? And finally he came over one day and he said, Linda, you're a conscious, intelligent person. What are you doing watching this dribble on TV? He said, you need to listen to Alex Jones. And so that's when I began listening to Alex Jones. And I got to tell you, at first, especially when you don't know a lot of things that are going on, when you're naive, when you've been drinking the fluoride, nobody told you it was in there, when you start to hear the truth come in, it kind of really shakes your world. And at first you want to go into, you know, what psychologists call denial, because ultimately, if you let some of this new truth in, it dismantles, you know, your life as you know it. Like all of a sudden, like for me, what do you mean the government's not taking care of me? You mean everything's not going to be okay because I live in the U.S.? Well, no, that's not what's going on. And it wasn't until little by little I started listening to Alex, and then I got angry, and I was like, okay, I need to be part of this. And I started doing videos on YouTube, you know, telling stories and helping wake people up, things I learned from Alex. And, you know, that's why I'm here today, because I wanted to be part of something bigger. And I think InfoWars is doing the only job out there that's important right now as far as news, because they're not bought by the mainstream media. They're not bought by a bunch of corporations. It's just Alex and his team members over there, and it's fully funded by you buying things from the store and things like the Money Bomb, and that's why it's so important. And actually, I even got a free membership because I'm part of the team to Prison Planet TV, but I even forgot my code, and I came home and I bought it again myself, because for me, I like to put my money where my heart is. And when I think things are important, I want to put my money there. So that's why I myself donate to Alex Jones. So moving on, today I have a really wonderful guest for us. Max Igan is a very amazing man. And right there next to Alex, Max Igan has been pivotal in waking me up to what's really going on in the world on a spiritual and a physical level. Max has an amazing YouTube channel under AOD Scarecrow. He also has a website, The Crow House, which is really informative. And he has many, many documentaries. His new one, Transformation, we're going to be talking about. But The Calling and The Awakening are just absolutely unbelievable pieces of work. And they're for free, and you can get them right on YouTube. So without another moment here, let me introduce Max Igan. Hi, Max. Are you there? Oh, no. Max has been traveling the world. He was just in Gaza, so I was a little worried he wasn't going to be able to act. You there?
Yeah, you guys. I can't hear Linda very well.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd rather hear you talk anyway, Max. I was just introducing you, and why don't you tell people what you've been doing lately?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
I can hear the guys in the control room very well, but I can't hear you very well, Linda.
Oh, no. Okay, well, that's going to be a little difficult to interview you then. Well, maybe the guys can help fix that. So I'll type it in for you, Max. Maybe. What have you been doing? You've been on tour, world tour. You were just in Gaza. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Hello, yeah, well, I'm in Croatia at the moment. I've been touring all around. I went through Egypt and been through London and a lot of places in Europe, and I'm currently in Croatia, which is very interesting. I've been all sorts of places. Actually ended up in Gaza for a little while as well, which was a real education. So it's been good. I was going to come to the United States and see you, but I haven't managed to do that. I've decided I'm just going to pull the pin and try to get home at the end of this month.
Well, I'm not happy about that, Max. I got the room all ready for you, and okay, I guess I'll have to lure you next trip. I understand you've been all over the globe practically. So thank you for being here since it's early in the morning with you. And so, Max, a lot of my subscribers, when I let them know I was going to be interviewing you, they had questions. So I was wondering if you would mind talking about a couple things they wanted to know about. I guess he can't hear me yet. Okay, so I'll just ask a question and maybe you guys can relay it to him. All right, let's talk. You want to talk about the TSA? Okay. What would you like to talk about with the TSA? I'm sorry. Max can't hear us. Is that what's going on? Okay. Okay. Well, let me talk about Prop 37 and GMOs, because that's really, if you don't mind, is that okay with you, Rob? Okay. Well, as you may or may not know, what's going on in California is there's a prop called Prop 37 that would make it mandatory to label GMOs. As you know, GMOs are not labeled. They're not labeled. Let me just back you up a little bit so you can understand how this went. A lot of people here probably know, but if you watch the chain of events, it's really disgusting, because Mike Taylor was a lawyer for Monsanto, which is one of the biggest GMO companies out there, along with DuPont, Syngenta, PepsiCo. But Monsanto seems to be a little extra evil. And his lawyer, Mike Taylor, somehow ended up in a very top position at the FDA very shortly after working with Monsanto. And when the ruling came down whether or not GMO, genetically modified foods, now let's get this right, these foods are not natural in any way. They're actually created in a lab. And when doctors even go to classify them, they can't classify them on the planet. They're not a food, they're not a virus, they're not a bacteria, they're nothing that actually exists on the planet, okay? So these GMOs were created in a lab. They look the same as other food. They even look better sometimes, and that was the whole purpose behind it, was that this produce was going to look great and somehow also feed all the starving people around the world. That was what they were promoting anyway. And, of course, that wasn't the truth. They had not done any studies on it, haven't let any real studies been done. And, in fact, when the FDA people did do the studies on the GMOs, they wrote letters to the White House. They were very upset and said, we can't let this go out. We haven't done enough studies, and what we have done is not showing up, very good things. Well, these people consequently got fired or shipped off to, Anchorage. And what did happen was Mike Taylor, now the head of the FDA, passed the regulation that GMOs didn't have to be labeled because they were the same as foods that grew out of the ground. Right, I can see how he could think that something you put together in a lab and full of poison is the same as something that grows out of the ground. Okay, so there we see where it began. And now, of course, Obama has made this same person, this Monsanto man, is now our food czar. So that's what's going on with our food. We've been just sold out completely when it comes to our food. So what's going on with Prop 37 is finally on the ballot in California. They're going to put it on there that you have to have GMOs labeled. You have to give people a choice. Let them know what they're eating. Let them choose at least. You can't hide this any longer because studies show that once people know GMOs are in the food, they won't buy them, which is why I have to go back to the amazing, and maybe you can play part of this, you guys, news story that Aaron Dykes and Melissa Melton did with Whole Foods. And it was just disgusting when they went in and talked to these people, and the heads of Whole Foods admitted, she was like, oh, you can't expect us to be testing for GMOs. They're in everything. It was like, yeah, when I'm paying 3 times as much to go to your store because I assume you're doing that homework that I can't do myself because they're not labeled, yes, I assume I'm not eating GMOs. Yes, I assume when it says all natural, it's actually all natural. I have been going to Whole Foods for years, as a single mom without a lot of money, paying that extra money to Whole Foods thinking I was actually getting something healthier for my son. I, for one, am angry. I got ripped off so they could profit. And so if you guys haven't checked out that clip by Aaron Dykes and Melissa Melton, you really have to take a look at that because it really shows what's going on with Whole Foods and just how corrupt Monsanto and the whole GMO pushing corporations are. And I might add, it's just coming out now that there's a bunch of anti-Prop 37 ads going on in California. Now, you got to remember, Monsanto actually sued the state of Vermont when they tried to label GMOs. They put it on their ballot, and Monsanto sued Vermont, and they took it off the ballot. What happened here was all of a sudden millions of signatures got dropped off the petition somehow. But because so many Californians are really, gung-ho about healthy food, they managed to keep it on the ballot. But we've got millions and millions of dollars, and it's being traced back to Monsanto from what I heard. It just came out today, a story. I'll have to find the link for y'all. Is the one behind all these anti-Prop 37 commercials going on. And they've got farmers on there acting all pitiful, like, oh, my God, you'll put me out of business if you vote for, to label these, GMOs. Folks, the truth is Monsanto has hundreds and thousands of our small farmers in litigation right now. He's single-handedly trying to put them out of business. He sues them because his super toxic seed blows into their all-organic field and then takes root, and they're trying to get rid of it so it won't pollute all their organic food. And he sues them for stealing his patented seed. So that's really what's going on, and it's really sad because there's so much confusion. If you look at what's going on with the commercials, it looks like Prop 37 is a bad thing when actually it's a really positive thing. Okay, so on that note, GMOs, I was going to talk to Max about so many things because he knows a lot about 2012, and he also knows a lot about orgone energy, and he's a total fan of non-compliance, which if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much opting out of the system. So, we're not part of the system so that the New World Order doesn't win. But for me, All right, Max, fabulous. Max, I was just talking about non-compliance and your movie, The Awakening, and how, you talked about that. And what are some of the ways that people can be civilly disobedient in a non-violent way and drop out?
Well, I think that really when you look at the system, Linda, the whole system is based on fear-based mind control, the whole thing. And I've always said that the best form of non-compliance is love, really. The best form of non-compliance is getting on with your neighbours. You realise that everything that this system does, it's a system that's basically designed to make humanity expendable in order to support the parameters of the system. So we're always making humanity expendable in order to support the economic model. So you do the opposite of that in all that you do. That's what I do in everything that I do. I spend my life giving to people, basically, because the system demands that I don't. The system demands that I sell things to people. So, I kind of do the opposite of what the system demands me in everything that I do, and it just works. My life just works that way. I mean, there's a lot of people that have gone through different rabbit holes. They've gone down avenues of freeing themselves. People like Robert Paget in Canada have gone down different avenues, and the free man movement, all this sort of stuff. But I think the best thing to do is to realise that we already live in a society. We need to take this society with us in whatever we do. So we just stop complying with the parameters of this society. And like I said, the best parameter, the best thing is love. Best thing we can do is love. It's a bit early in the morning for me here, guys. It's 6 o'clock in the morning here as well, by the way. You've got me up early, so I'm not quite with it at the moment.
Oh, you're always great, Max. To take a quote of yours, I was watching one of your pieces, and you were talking about how the New World Order funds both sides of the war, and they try and tell you, well, we've got to go to war to make peace, and peace is war, and war is peace, and peace. And you said you don't go to war with the people to make peace. You go to peace with the people to make peace, and that's just profound. And can you illuminate a little bit more on that? It kind of goes with your love.
Well, you don't go to war to make peace. I mean, it's just not what you do. I mean, and all of the wars are contrived. All of the wars that we fight are contrived. I mean, people that listen to this show should know that they're all contrived. None of the wars that we've fought in the last 200 years have been fought on any of the reasons that they gave us for these wars to have been fought. And recently I was just in Gaza, and that was remarkable just to see how people are used as political footballs. To see the situation in Gaza and to see how it's never going to be healed, it's just there to create war, is quite shocking to go and see it firsthand. They're just forgotten people, and we've got to start realising what's going on here with these wars and with this whole system, the way it is, the way it functions. I mean, the whole system, it only functions because we hold it up, we support it. That's the thing. So we can point the finger at the Rothschilds, we can point the finger at the banking cartels, we can point the finger at the governments, but ultimately we're the ones that are holding it all up. I've often said to people that what your relationship with government is one of fiduciary trust, and we need to put it back into that as well. We need to understand that that's what our relationship with government is. So we can't petition these people, we can't vote them out, we can't attack them by using the parameters that they give us to attack them. We can't attack them using legal or political means. We have to put it all back into trust, and we have to realise that our relationship with these people is fiduciary trust. That's how we have to deal with the system, because the government are public trustees. That's all they are. They're public trustees. We give them the power that they have to enact the laws that they use to take our rights away to have these wars and to do all the things that they do, because we don't realise that our relationship with them is fiduciary trust. So that's where I believe the solution lies. That's how we have to deal with the situation. We have to put it all back into trust and realise what our relationship with them is. That has to be how we deal with it. Yeah. And really, when you look at it, it's obvious. It's absolutely obvious.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we talk about the 1% and that we're the 99%, but the problem is, well, we're all one for one, but the fact is, until we get united, until we all remember that we're all one, you know, we won't be able to be as effective. Right now, they work on, you know, separating us through fear, through these different, you know, wars and things going on that say you're separate when in fact we're the same.
Well, they do, but the thing is that even if we were to unite, I mean, what sort of a front do we unite on? You know, the front's got to be fiduciary trust. It's got to be the united front that we use, because I mean that's the only means we've got. That's the only method that we've got of dealing with the system. You can't deal with it politically. You can't deal with it through the methods that they give you. You've got to do it through trust. That's the thing. See, we've forgotten that that's what our relationship is. See, even when the president goes there and swears to serve the American people, when the president gets elected to office, swears to serve the American people, this is showing that he's a public trustee. This is showing that the Prime Minister of my country is a public trustee. That's what these people are. So that's the way we have to look at it, and that's the only place remedy will be found. That's why we have to look at it as trust. You see what I'm saying? It can't be looked at as anything else. It can't be looked at as your leaders. You can't have to operate within political parameters or legal parameters that they provide. You've got to put all of that after the trust agreement, which is the basis of your relationship with these people. That's why it has to be looked that way. That's the only way you're ever going to deal with it. And that's the best form of non-compliance. Absolutely. I mean, start working out what's going on with this trust agreement before you even get to the political side of things, or even get to the legal side of things. You know, if you're claiming you have the law or can create the legislation which you're going to use to do all these things to myself and to my society, then let's look at where you get that power from, because it's a trust agreement. So that's how we have to deal with it. And when you get enough people that can look at the world this way and stand in their own personal power in order to make this happen, that's when you'll get some real change. And that's about the only thing we can unite them on. You know, there's certain symptoms we can use to hopefully unite them, things such as coal seam gas mining, which I thought would be a great symptom we could use to unite the people, because, I mean, that's something that affects everybody. But even when people do see something as major as coal seam gas mining right in their face, again, they still don't know how to unite. So that's where it all has to come back to trust. That's the front that they need to unite on is fiduciary trust.
Good points. Good points, Max. Now, I had a lot of people that asked questions. I just want to get a couple in because we're moving through this hour pretty quick. What are you happy and positive about, Max? That's what a viewer wanted to know. That's their question for you.
What am I happy and positive about?
What do you see good?
Look, I see it all as good. I mean, I see it all as opportunity. I really do. I think that all of this really negative stuff that's happening, I think this is providing the human race and human consciousness with the greatest opportunity we've ever had for real freedom. Because I don't think we've ever been free in the past. I don't think there's ever been a time in human history when we've actually been free.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
We've had freedom of choice, but we've never really had freedom. Because I don't think we've ever been emotionally evolved enough or spiritually evolved enough to deal with freedom. But I think that now we are actually getting to a situation in human history where we might just be getting that spiritual evolution happening. We may just be psychologically evolved enough now to deal with the concept of freedom. And I think that all of this in-your-face stuff that is in our face is being provided for us to give us that opportunity. You know, we wouldn't be waking up if it wasn't getting so negative. So, yeah. I think it's all positive, Linda.
Yeah, I'm with you, Max. I mean, I see a lot of dark things happening, but I see, like you said, people waking up from that. Because sometimes, you know, if there's not something bad going on, people are just slumbering away. It's just like, you know, and finally we start to see things happening and people start waking up. And the important thing is so many people, they get lulled to sleep with TV. I know you're an anti-TV person, or food or whatnot, or alcohol, and they just get in this kind of sleepwalking spirit realm where they're not in themselves. They're not actually feeling or seeing what's going on. And then when they actually do start to wake up, like you said, this whole concept of freedom, when, you know, we think we're free, but we're not that much different than China in the fact that all the things that get filtered through, you know, the propaganda that is mainstream news before it gets to us. But moving on really quickly, another question that's, you know, goes along with this, 2012. Now, I'm an author on books about 2012. I connected a code, spent time with scientists in the rainforest. Terence McKenna has his time wave zero theory, where he shows at the end of the Mayan calendar that we are about to go into the most novel time in all of history. He supposed that it wasn't going to be the end of the world like many people theorize, but that something so novel, such as time travel, would be invented that it would change everything we know, that we would cease to think of death the same way, or aging, or even any linear movement, because we could go back and forth. Therefore, time would not act as we know it, and we'd be entering a new paradigm. What are your feelings about 2012, and what do you see coming? Because December 21st, 2012, it's right around the corner here. So what are your feelings about that?
Yeah, look, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. I really don't. I think that it's the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. I find Terence McKenna's views to be interesting. I find them to be very novel as well. I think, you know, I mean, the idea that something novel could happen is a novel idea in itself. And, you know, I mean, I don't... Again, I think it's an opportunity. I've never really placed a lot of credence on the whole 2012 concept. I mean, I think it's a bit of a red herring, but again, it could be an opportunity as well. I mean, it would appear that the planetary frequencies are rising. Even the fact that we're having conversations like this and doing shows such as this shows that there are certain frequencies of consciousness that are rising. And that's not anything new. It's just the way things seem to be going. You know, people are waking up. It's the first time in human history we've been given an opportunity to be awake. And so I think it's a good time. But, you know, it's something we have to participate in. If there is going to be a change in 2012, then it's going to require audience participation. That's what I think with 2012. I don't think that it's something we can just sit back and wait for the world to change on that date. I think that people that are waiting for that are going to be greatly disappointed come December 22nd. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think it's an opportunity, but, you know, we have to participate.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it's just Y2K, and, you know, it possibly could be. But then again, it's not just the Mayans, I like to say, that have pointed to this date. It's the Egyptians, the Sumerians, Mother Shipton, Nostradamus. A lot of different cultures have pointed to this exact date, which just makes it interesting to look at, because why are they all pointing at this date and what's going on? Like you said, I see a lot of positive, higher energy coming up. We see these, you know, rebellions all over the world of people not willing to be enslaved anymore. And that's beautiful. That's spirit rising. That's people taking action. And so, yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be a human movement that changes things. I don't really see any devastation coming. But on that point, Max, you're in Australia, and you know our elections are coming up. Do you have a favorite between Romney and Obama?
Look, a favorite, I think. You're using the word loosely, I think, aren't you?
Right. It's like saying, yeah. Do you like your spinach or your collard greens? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can't say that I'd honestly say I have a favorite from those two, no. I mean, Obama probably will win, but I don't think it matters. I honestly do not think it matters one hoot who wins, not one little bit. You know, it might keep certain people happy if one face is up there for a little while longer. But I don't think it makes any difference. I mean, the agenda goes on. It always does. It always has. It makes no difference. But I think that they'll probably keep Obama in there for a little while longer yet.
Well, I know, we can't bet over here in the United States, but Paul Joseph Watson, our anchor out of London, they all bet over there. And he said the last time that he mentioned it, he said Obama was winning 70-30 with the bookies. So I don't know if that's still going on after the lackluster debates he just put in, but I mean, they were both lame, and they're both owned by the same people. That's the joke of it all. In fact, Obama was so bad, it almost seemed like he was, like, taking one for the team or something. Like, I don't know, if he was a professional athlete, I would have said he, like, purposely threw the game. So it's going to be interesting to see which of the puppets they put in, for sure. So what's going on in Australia and your politics over there?
Well, yeah, look, it doesn't matter which one they throw in. And it doesn't matter. See, they can have debates that are that bad that the people don't even notice anymore. Did you see the review that I did recently of the Middle East defense lobby? Middle Eastern defense lobby talking about a false flag operation in Iran. I did a video on the roof of Gaza. Of a rooftop in Gaza.
Yeah, please tell everybody about that.
But yeah, they were just talking about how they're just going to do a false flag operation, and they didn't cover it up at all. It doesn't matter anymore. They just tell you. So I mean, Obama can go and do a debate on television. They don't even have to pretend that it's any good anymore. They just get up there and speak the words. It doesn't matter. You could sit there and be reading a cartoon script. And people wouldn't notice. They wouldn't notice. If you read the script with sincerity, they would not notice that you're reading a cartoon script.
Okay, America's not that bad. I think they might notice that. We are pretty dumbed down, though. I mean, man, when Dan Bidandi went out on the street asking people about the Constitution, well, they knew the Simpson characters, and they didn't even know the Constitution, so that was pretty pathetic. But
Exactly. So this is what we're dealing with. They can tell you now. Look, we're going to flags. Look, if the American president can't get us to war, perhaps it would be best if someone else was to start the war. Right. They're just telling you blatantly what they're doing. So, and look, I can't tell you what the politics are like in Australia at the moment because I've been right out of the news because I've been travelling. I'm still in Croatia at present.
Well, so let me tell you the latest thing. Okay, I hate to laugh because it seems like, I don't care, but they just arrested a terrorist that was going to blow up the Federal Reserve in New York City. Now, let me tell you this, Max, because you're going to love this. So at first, it just comes out with 21-year-old man was going to blow up the Federal Reserve. And I'm thinking, oh, boy, somebody on Occupy Wall Street just took it to the next level because we all know how everybody feels about the Federal Reserve. But no, it ends up being this gentleman. He sounded like a Muslim name. He's not from there. I can't remember where they're saying he's from now. Anyway, one of those long names that sounds Muslim, and they're saying it was a terrorist act that he was going to blow up the Federal Reserve. But the FBI said, don't worry, we actually had our hands through the whole thing. We got the van that he used and the bomb material. So then it's like, okay, so this guy was on Facebook, maybe saying something, inflammatory. When did the FBI come in? And if they were in control of everything, it wasn't really a terrorist attack, was it? Because they were in control of the bomb. And this is the kind of stuff that's going on over here where you're like, wait a minute. So what was it? Was this an FBI entrapment thing or was this an actual terrorist act? Yeah, that's what's going on over here. A bunch of more confusion, basically.
I heard a little bit about that, actually. I heard a news report someone sent me about how the FBI sold him the 1,000-pound bomb, and they sold him all the stuff that he needed to make the bomb, and they sold him the whole thing. So, yeah,
I mean, that's not the first time they've done that either. And you're like, oh, no, but they were part of the Batman thing during the time when the UN was trying to outlaw our guns. No, they had nothing to do with setting that guy up who just hung around looking all drugged up and got arrested.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's great. Let's just find some unsavory character. We'll set him up to be a bomb manufacturer. We'll sell him all the parts, and then we can say we caught a terrorist. I mean, fantastic idea, and this is how they do it. They don't even cover it up anymore, Linda. That's the thing. So, yeah, it doesn't matter about the presidential debate. It doesn't matter about what they tell you because people don't listen. They don't pay attention.
Now, Max, over in Australia, because over here they're always trying to limit our gun rights, you know, even during the debate they brought the question up and both of them danced around it, of course, because so many Americans are pro-Second Amendment. But in Australia, they took away your guns, right? What year was that and how'd that go down? And what do you think about that? Because I get Australians writing me all the time saying, don't give up your guns, darn it.
Well, if they did that, it was back in the early 90s. And they did it with the Port Arthur massacre. Martin Bryant, who was a patsy. I mean, there's no way that all happened the way they said it did. Not possible. But Australians are, you know, they can be very apathetic, and you can talk them into things. They're very compulsive people. And when the government said, yeah, you've got to give up all your guns, I went, oh, yeah, okay, no worries, we'll give up all our guns. We can't have anything terrible like that happen. Of course, there are a lot of people who didn't. There are a lot of people who buried guns around the place, and there is reports of large caches of guns buried around the place. But, you know, they did do it very, very quickly. But it shows how easily it can be done with simply staging a false flag operation, which is what the whole Port Arthur massacre was. But again, with Australia, you've got a very disunited population because you've got only 22 million people in this country, but they're spread out over the whole country. So you've got wide open spaces and you haven't got a lot of common unity in the community. So it's very easy to get people to do things like that when they're a disunited community. Something about in America, at least you've got, you know, pockets of united community. You might have a disunited country as a whole, but you've got pockets of community that are kind of united within themselves very often because you're very densely populated. We don't have that here in Australia.
Yeah. So, Max, let me just mention to everybody, if you're wanting to donate to the Money Bomb, you can call in to 882-253-3193. And if you're wanting to call later, we have a call-in number, too, if you want to call in and talk to the guests. But, Max, let me ask you one last question I think we have time for before. Somebody wanted to know your opinion on orgone energy. Is it possible? Do you see it ever coming into being in our lifetimes? What are your feelings about that?
Look, I've got a lot of orgonite that people have sent me. I don't know what to think about it. I mean, it's there. It's all over my bench at home. I love the stuff. I think it's quite beautiful. I like the feeling that I get when I'm around it. That's about all I can really say. I mean, people swear by it. Some people don't. So, I mean, try it out for yourself and see how it feels. I like it. I like being around the stuff. But I mean, it's not going to save the world. It all takes audience. It all takes audience participation. You know, everything we do takes participation. You know, we can get all these energy devices to keep ourselves up to the right level, but we can just do it in ourselves anyway. We don't really need anything that's external to ourselves. All we need is ourselves. Excuse me. Yeah. But all we need is that spark that's within ourselves. That's how we change things, by changing that spark, changing the energetic state that we're in, realising our own power and applying that to the world that we live in. That's how we change the world. We don't need anything that's external to ourselves. But that's something that people often miss.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you there, Max, because so many times people will be, well, what can I do? And a lot of times even get weighed down, myself included, like, how much can one person do? The problems, they seem so enormous and so many of them. And ultimately, what we can do, like you said, is if we just really stay in that love-centered place, caring about each other, making movements because we care about each other, we care about the world, we care about our children, and not getting too caught up in the anger and the fear, we can make a difference. And, you know, it sounds kind of Pollyanna-ish, but ultimately I'm hoping somewhere along the way that 100th monkey theory kicks in, and if enough of us are in the right place and want the same good thing, that will become the critical tipping point, and we'll see a different world. And that's what I have to believe in, and that's why I keep getting the message out, and I know you do too. So any parting words that you can leave with everybody today, Max?
Well, that is truly the point, and it isn't Pollyanna-ish at all. I mean, you can change the world by changing your energetic state, but you've got to apply it to the world around you. That's the thing that people miss. You know, we can do things. You know, one small voice can make a difference. You know, I'm living proof that it can, and so are you, and so are people like Alex. I mean, there's people that are just one voice, but they've made a difference, and only because they're willing to participate. They're willing to get out there and do what they can and lead by example in what they do. And that's how we change things. You've got to lead by example in what you do. You've got to participate. Put yourself in the right energetic state, but don't just lock yourself away from the world. Don't go building an alternate community. You know, we already live in community. We just have to fix the community that we live in. And we do that by applying ourselves to it. Yeah, and I do it simply by asking questions, asking the right questions to the right people, always being polite in all that I do, but not backing down to these people. You know, that's truly non-compliance, is knowing who and what you are, because that's ultimately what you're searching for. All the rabbit holes you go down, what you're looking for is yourself. And once you find it, you realise the truth of that.
That's the truth. Amen. Is that not the truth? It all comes back to you, finally. So, Max, people can find you if they want to find you. Your website is The Crow House. Your YouTube is AOD Scarecrow. They can also find your documentaries on your YouTube channel. Is that the best place to go, or The Crow House?
Yeah, the YouTube channel or The Crow House. It's all there on The Crow House. You can find a link to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page. It's all there. You can contact me via The Crow House. The forums are down at the moment. They've been hacked again. You get that, you know.
Yes, lovely YouTube. The minute you start putting out any real truth, I know Alex's channel goes through this all the time, and they just stop giving you views, or they won't let you upload something or whatnot. I know you get a lot of that too, because your channel is so big. And because you've done so much to help, Max, I really have to say to everybody, if you haven't gotten a chance to ever listen to any of Max's radio interviews or his videos or his documentaries, they are amazing. And it's also a really great way, because like you said, Max, I don't know about you, but you know, just reaching out and talking to people can be so fearful, because people don't want to talk about real things. They don't want their world shattered. And to find a way to bring up a very important, sensitive subject and just have a real conversation, human to human, that's part of being an info warrior. That is hard in itself. I'll be in line and I'll be like, I want to tell them about Prop 37 and GMOs, and like while they're standing there with Wonder Bread and their 3 kids. But, you know, the fear thing comes up. But you have to work through that, because that's what love's all about, really, having enough love for the other person to be like, well, I don't feel comfortable saying this, but, wow, you should know this just in case. And anyway, Max, it's early for you. It's late for me. And I want to thank you so much for coming on and taking time. And I'm going to have to really chastise you for not getting to L.A. to see me, though, on this trip. You know, we'll talk later about that, Max.
Yeah, not a problem. Sorry about that. I just got burnt out and decided it was time to go home.
You're just afraid I'll take you out surfing.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Max, is there anything you want to say before we go?
No, look, that's about it. Thank you for having me on. Sorry about the shaky start. Remember Palestine? Remember Palestine, folks? I've got my Remember Palestine wristband on. I was just there. Don't forget Gaza. I'll say that.
Okay, Max. And you can watch those videos of Max on YouTube in Gaza, and they're really worth watching because they really moved me. So great job, Max, and stay safe. And we will talk to you soon. And thank you so much for being our guest tonight and being part of the Money Bomb 2012.
Thank you, Linda.
Bye-bye. Well, everybody, we're going to Jakari Jackson next, right, for the Money Bomb? Okay. So, everybody, thank you so much. This is Linda West. I'm signing off here in Los Angeles, and Jakari Jackson is coming up next, and you all know how thrilling, exciting, and handsome he is, so you want to stick around for that. And once again, let me give you that number if you want to donate to the Money Bomb. It's 882-253-3193, and you can help us all get the news out more. And thank you so much for watching me. And everybody, a big kiss, and to everybody in Austin, I miss you. And thanks for having me on.
This is the InfoWars Money Bomb 2012. The number to donate is 1-888-253-3139, or I guess that is the number. And also, you can donate at InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com and also the InfoWars shop. And be sure to stop by the eBay store. We have a great auction gift selection. You can get the InfoWars sledgehammer that you've seen Alex use in the video. Also, Alex's old microphone. We have a new microphone here, but there's one on there that you can bid on as well. So this is the Money Bomb 48-hour transmission. We just had Linda West. Coming up after me, it's going to be Russell, and then Dan Badandi. He's going to come in and do his 2 or 3 hours of power, the Badandi hour. I'm definitely looking forward to that. So you guys stay tuned. All right, now we started off with a printable gun story, and it kind of ties into what I'm going to do because, as you can see, I got my Come and Take It shirt right here, InfoWarsShop.com. I believe these are actually on sale during the Money Bomb. So check that out and get yourself one. But we're going to be talking about guns, Second Amendment, and that's what this hour is all going to be about. Coming up a little bit after the break, I'm going to be joined by Matt Williams. He is a firearms instructor and armorer. He's a great guy, knows a lot about guns. So any of you gun aficionados, get your gun questions ready. He does everything from concealed carry classes to gunsmithing. So anything that you want to know, definitely get your questions ready. And we'll start taking questions probably about halfway through the hour. But first, you saw the John Bound skit on the printable gun, and I have an article here. Now, I'm going through some articles. These aren't breaking news articles. These articles that we've either covered earlier in the year or maybe we didn't have a chance to talk about. But important Second Amendment articles that we're going to talk about right here. Headline: Printable gun revolution moving forward despite corporate Second Amendment fears. Now, this is what was referenced in the John Bound piece that you just saw. The printable gun is, well, let's first talk about the printer. They have these, I guess they call them the 3D printers that can actually print solid objects. So instead of printing you could print a picture of a pen on a piece of paper, you could actually print out the pieces to make a moving functional pen. So this guy in the videos you saw, he took it a step further. He said, why don't we create weapons, using these printers, which is a very smart idea. You go to the gun store, you can expect to pay a minimum of a $300, charge to get your firearm, which that's really not even a good price for a firearm. I mean, your real good ones are probably 400, 500 plus. But this guy says, hey, we'll take this technology, make a moving, fully functional firearm in the comfort and privacy of your own home. I guess you can also customize it to whatever your specifications are. And you see the article right there on your screen. And what basically happened is the printable gun company comes in, they shut them down. They say, hey, you can't print guns, but our big defense contractors can. So, they're stepping all over this guy. The little guy can't make a buck, but, the big boys who, want to take these things out to a war theater, hey, they're more than welcome to they're more than welcome to get into that. And we'll talk about that with Matt Williams coming up. Now, but first, before we get to Matt, I have a whole list of articles, a whole stack of articles about people using their Second Amendment rights to defend themselves and their families. Now, we always hear about these big shootings, the Colorado shootings and this and that and whatever else, but we rarely hear about these people who, defend themselves lawfully with their Second Amendment rights. And that's something that's very important. These things rarely get covered in the news, and when they do, it's quickly swept under the rug. And I definitely recognize things like Colorado. Those are great tragedies, but there have been great tragedies averted because people took it upon themselves to be armed, to know their Second Amendment rights, and to act responsibly. I'm not advocating cowboys and vigilantes, shooting up everything. I'm not about that at all. I don't even think everybody has a right to own a gun to an extent, but if you're not a responsible gun owner, if you're fidgety with a gun or you're afraid you're going to shoot your dog or whatever else, don't go out and buy a gun. Don't buy a gun because your neighbor just got their house broken into because you're buying it out of fear. You're going to end up doing something that you don't want to do. So definitely be responsible with your firearms. We'll talk about that with Matt in just 1 second. But I don't even know where to start with this stack. These are just some of the more recent examples that we've seen this year. So I'll start with an article I actually covered. Headline: St. Paul mom, daughter hold burglar for police with pink gun. Now, this is a story I had a chance to cover on the InfoWars Nightly News. A responsible gun owner and mother came across somebody who was in their house, and they had this to say. "What the hell are you doing in my house?" said the 56-year-old Rebecca Larson when she found the suspected burglar inside. So she said, "Hey, Jack, what are you doing in my house?" And the guy, he didn't heed the call. So the lady, and I'm not advocating this, but the lady locked herself inside the house with the guy and fought the guy. This 56-year-old woman gave this guy the business. And I don't know if you guys can pull up on the screen a picture of this guy. To me, he seems like a guy who should be able to take a 56-year-old woman, but hey, maybe she was a little extra scrappy. So she starts getting it on with the guy. She wrestles him down to the ground, holds this guy down to the ground, this 56-year-old woman, and her daughter comes from upstairs, carrying her pink gun, and holds the guy at gunpoint. So this is an example of at least somebody who acted, responsibly with a firearm. So I'm not advocating somebody in your house. If somebody's breaking in your house and they want to leave, just let them go, I'd say. But grandma, I guess she's not old enough to be a grandma, but mama wasn't having it. Wrestled the guy down, and her daughter came and held the guy at gunpoint till the police arrived. So, no shots were fired. The girl, if you guys had a chance to watch the clip, we're not going to play it right now for the sake of time. But if you watch the clip, the girl says she didn't even want to shoot the guy. She just said, hey, as long as he stays on the ground, won't be a problem. The guy stayed down, got arrested, and now he's back in the pokey. Next story. This is actually something I remember because this happened back when I was in Oklahoma, from my home state of Oklahoma. Headline: Blanchard mother who shot, killed intruder recalls home invasion terror. And you guys can see it right there. A young mother shot and killed an intruder at her home Saturday. 18-year-old Sarah McKinley said the suspect terrorized her for more than 20 minutes as they tried to break into the house. So I don't see what the problem is with that. Somebody tries to break into your house for 20 minutes. I think they're coming in to do you some harm. So I guess there's plenty of time to go get her shotgun. She loaded it up and gave the guy the business. Mama and daughter are still alive and well to this day. We'll move on. These, like I said, these are just the more recent stories that you can type in Google or whatever. People defending themselves with firearms. Plenty of lawful, law-abiding citizens using their Second Amendment rights to protect themselves and their family. Next story. Woman, 65, single-handedly stopped 5 masked thugs from robbing her pawn shop. Now, if you guys are watching this on prisonplanet.tv, if you go and watch many of these stories have videos. If you watch any one video, I'd suggest this one. This is probably the best video out of the whole stack I have here. It looks like a Three Stooges skit. These guys break into a pawn shop to rob this lady. She pulls out the Roscoe, right? Maybe hold on for 1 second. The lady pulls out the Roscoe. She fires 2 shots. I don't even think she hit any of the guys. But it's like a Three Stooges skit. These guys all run into the door, trying to push the door, but it's a door that you pull open, and then they throw each other off, and then they run outside. And the guys try to get into the van, but the van drives off and leaves the guys. So we'll just watch this for just 1 second. Okay, so the guy, we see the reporter breaking down the scoop. So I'll read this while we wait. When 5 masked thugs attempted to rob a Southern California pawn shop earlier this week, the 65-year-old woman who owned the shop scared them off by firing 2 rounds. Here we go. Firing 2 rounds from her handgun. So we see the guys getting out of their vehicle right there. They walk into the store. They pull out their bags, ready to steal some ill-gotten gains. Now you can see the guys break off, all running. Move, Mo, move, Larry. And then they run outside. Oh, get him, Grandma. Okay, she's in hot pursuit. And it doesn't go. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here's a getaway vehicle. The guys try to get in, but I guess this guy's scared too. Drives off, leaves some of his buddies. Oh, man. Stupid criminals, man. That's probably going to end up on Jay Leno. But anyway, the lady protected herself in her business lawfully in responsible means. She, like I said, she didn't run outside shooting at the guy. She shot at him while they're inside her store. They ran off, and she lived to see another day. And I just want to drive this point home. That's why I have so many of these articles here. Next story. Woman forced to shoot intruder to protect herself and her children. Martha Lewis said she immediately called the police and woke up her two daughters. This is when the suspect was already in her home. Lewis says she gave the intruder several warnings before shooting, but he wouldn't listen. And I like this up here in this article. It says, Door Police Chief John Duckcock, they have not yet spoken to him as he is medically unresponsive. Whenever he comes out of sedation, he's combative and has to be sedated once again. So there's definitely a wild guy right there. The guy's so wild in the hospital, even with a bullet wound in him, that they have to sedate him again. So this is definitely a woman who is acting, in the best interest of herself and her family to keep her family safe. Now, this guy has a bullet in him, and they're safe at home, watching Looney Tunes or whatever the kids do now these days. Now, we'll switch gears for a little bit, and we'll talk about bullet purchases. Now, I have an article in front of me, this from Paul Joseph Watson, headline, DHS purchases 200 million more rounds of ammunition. Now, just to give you the history on this, DHS has been running around buying up all kinds of bullets. Right here in the article, you can see that this says that in the last 6 months alone, over 1.2 billion bullets have been purchased by DHS. And then they went out and bought 200 million more bullets. And I think somebody did the math. They said it's, 3-4 bullets for a person, every man, woman, and child in the U.S. And they decided to go out and get 200 million more. And they say they're going to go use these for target practice. That's a whole lot of target practice there, guys. And even this one says some of these new rounds are going to be for snipers. And these guys are going out purchasing armored pill boxes. I'm not exactly what these guys are planning for. I mean, I may be a conspiracy theorist, but it seems like a little martial law preparation. There's that word, prepping. So, hey, I mean, if I go buy a couple boxes of bullets and some bottled water, I'm a prepper, but they're preppers, and I mean, I guess that's okay. But speaking of guy, this guy isn't even a prepper. If we can get a doc cam right here. Man investigated by police for buying ammunition. So we just saw an article right here. DHS is running around buying 200 million more rounds of ammunition, but this guy goes out to the store, buys 3 boxes of ammunition to go shoot at the range, which is nothing. I don't see anything wrong with that. This guy goes out, buys 3 boxes of ammunition to shoot at the range, and he gets a call from the state police. Some snitch, I don't know if it was somebody who worked at the gun shop or some other customer, was there and snitched on the guy for going out and buying a few boxes of bullets, saying that they thought he may go do something crazy. I don't know what's crazy about a few boxes of bullets, especially when the government's buying 1.2 billion in the last 6 months alone. But if you watch this video, the guy says that he just went out to the store to get a few rounds to shoot the weekend. He's a fisherman. When he has the time off, he likes to go shoot his guns. Nothing wrong with that. But I guess, the government hates competition. They don't want this guy to have 3 bullets to protect himself and the family. Now, when we come back from our next break, I'm going to be talking to Matt Williams. And this is one of the things I really want to talk to him about. This is actually something he brought up to me. And this is a story that I remember because actually I wrote a paper on this back when I was in college. It was really more of an opinion piece. It wasn't, real thought out. But, it was something that illustrates the point of, Second Amendment rights, and particularly concealed carry rights. Headline, Luby's massacre remains among nation's worst mass shootings. Now, some of you guys may not remember this. I believe this happened back in 1991. A Luby's restaurant, was attacked by a gentleman who drove his truck into the Luby's restaurant, hopped out, and began firing at the occupants inside. This wasn't a robbery It was just a guy who was out to kill as many people as he could. And it's a horrible situation, but there's a testimony from one of the survivors that she gives. It's not in this article, but she says the thing about this is this wasn't an assault weapon, because we hear all the talks about Obama, you know, how he wants to ban assault weapons just recently in this last debate, and we'll talk to Matt about that also. But in this was a semi-automatic handgun and a revolver. So this guy, armed with no automatic weapon, went in, and it says 23 were left dying. No, 23 were dead or dying, and more than 20 were injured. So eventually this guy ended up killing himself, but he didn't need an assault weapon. I mean, had he been motivated enough to went in there with a butcher knife, start stabbing people, I doubt he would have had such a high body count. But guns don't kill people. Eric Holder does, as is a great sign that we did a report. I think Rob Dew did that report where the guy had that sign. Guns don't kill people. Eric Holder does. And hey, it is very true. And I'll finish up here with a few more articles. Now, these are some of the more popular self-defense stories. 92-year-old shoots and kills burglar. Now, this is the guy, he heard some commotion in his basement, so he sat in his rocking chair in front of his basement door, waiting for somebody to pop their head out. When he did, he shot the guy with his .22 rifle. So Mr. Earl Jones had some excitement about 2 a.m. He killed the guy. I don't see anything, you know, defending your home at 2 in the morning from strange sounds. But I guess the DHS does, because they want those bullets. Well, those are kind of small caliber, so maybe they don't want those. And last story, as far as the self-defense, 71-year-old concealed carry holder opens fire on 2 would-be robbers. Now, this is also a great video. This guy, I love this video so much because the guy was just so cool and calm. The guy, he like spun around in his chair like Dr. Evil or something, and he started shooting at the guys. He was just so cool and calm. He got up, he chased the guys out, he hit both of them. He fired several rounds. I'm not sure how many, but my understanding is he did hit both of the guys while they were trying to flee. No innocents were shot. The guys got out of there. Nobody was hurt besides the 2 gentlemen and maybe, you know, some minor property damage. But everybody was safe. The gentleman was safe. Everybody else in there was safe. And everybody in the video was pretty calm. If you guys have a chance to watch the video, which we may not get to for the sake of time, but everybody in the video is pretty calm, and as the guy's running around shooting, but the 2 guys get out there pretty quick in a hurry. So anyway, stay tuned with us. This is the InfoWars Money Bomb. The site to donate is InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com. It funds our operation. If you guys been watching since, I guess, 11 a.m. yesterday when Alex kicked off the show, we've had many great guests already, a lot of more people to come up to give you their opinions and views on different topics. But what this does, it funds our operation as we go to the next level. You guys say, what's the next level? We got more crew here. We have new reporters, new graphics people, new newspaper people, and we just want to expand. We want to, you know, get more equipment. Things like the Money Bomb help us fund our trips when we go to Bilderberg or whatever else we need to do. So definitely keep that in mind. Right now we have over $100,000. That's good, but we're still trying to get to our goal of $1 million. We still have a day to do it. So definitely to keep that in mind if that's something you're interested in. And also we do have the eBay auction as well with the Alex Jones microphone. I think everything on eBay is autographed by Alex Jones himself. So I know the T-shirts are, the sledgehammer is, many of the tools, the Alex Jones microphone. You have the Joker shirt that I had a chance to wear. What's the first one? Oh, yeah, okay. The crowd. I guess that's original art. Oh man, and that's a good rant. I don't know if that's on the rant section, but maybe Dan or Bound can put that on there. the rant about the Crowleys. So if you guys missed that, go dig in there you go. If you get on the prisonplanet.tv archives, get yourself a subscription. You can see the rant about the Crowleys by Mr. Alex Jones. Quite a colorful rant indeed. But anyway, we'll go to break and we'll come back with Mr. Matt Williams, firearms instructor and armorer, right here in the studio after this break. So stay with us. All right, I have no idea what this song is, but the crew seems to like it. What is this song? Don't Tread on Me. Oh, okay. Well, I'm pretty lame. But anyway, this is the InfoWars Money Bomb. I'm Jakari Jackson, back again. I'm joined in studio by Mr. Matt Williams. How you doing, Matt?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
Doing real good. Okay, the sites to donate, InfoWarsMoneyBomb.com, and also you can check out the eBay page, great auction items on there, and also the InfoWars shop. Now, Matt, we had a chance to talk during the break, so I just want to get your take on a few of these things. You were telling me about the DHS bullet purchase, and you're telling me why they need hollow point, instruments.
Well, as far as the bullet purchase, it's twofold. One, they bought as many rounds as they actually did because in the firearms industry, everyone's taught to train as though they're fighting.
Right.
Because you're developing muscle memory, you want to stick to those fundamentals. Changing things that you practice at the range only to do something completely different out in real life is fatal.
Okay.
So there's some truth to the practice ammo. The bigger problem I see is federal ammunition themselves. Why the bullet that they're selling it's actually what I carry. They've been in bed with the government for a long time, particularly Lake City Arsenal. Lake City Arsenal, which is a government arsenal, they sort of done a lot of work with packaging for both military as well as civilians, and sometimes ammunition made for the military would be sold as surplus to civilians, and still is today.
Right.
I see that purchase as more of a good old boy purchase. You got CCI Spear, which does Gold Dot Lawman brand. It's almost half the price, and it does the identical thing. So it didn't make much sense to me why they actually bought federal HST to practice with.
Right.
It's a fantastic round, and there's really no surviving it. I haven't heard of anyone who's survived a round from it yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it seemed more of like doing a friend a favor type deal.
So if nothing else, it was maybe a waste of money?
I think it was a waste of money. I think buying that much ammo of that quality, absolute waste of money. You could be a lot more cost effective, especially in the economy we're in right now. You don't need to be spending that kind of money. In the industry, everyone tries to utilize a percentage based on a one-shot stop.
Right.
Well, there's no magic gun. It doesn't matter how powerful the gun is. They don't turn people off.
Right.
There's still muscle movement, and unless it's a headshot, there's brain activity, in which case some people have literally had their heart liquefied and fought long enough to kill people. Wow. So, I mean, we're not very different from wild animals, and many of you out there who are deer hunters, camera, there we go. I'm sure you've hit a deer and seen a deer just go hundreds of yards into the forest. While most humans will submit to that kind of pain, mm-hmm. there's a rare breed out there that won't. And unfortunately, that rare breed is usually malicious. So it's usually the person you're facing. So I can understand purchasing the ammo. I just don't agree with the intelligence of the purchase. I think it was just, as I said, an old boys club type thing where they were just doing each other a favor.
All right. Our guest is Matt Williams, and the site is gunfightersclinic.com, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, Matt, tell us a little bit about what you do. I know you personally, but you are a firearms instructor, mm-hmm. and you're also a armorer, a gunsmith.
Yeah. Basically, I've been a competitive shooter, a little bit of a hunter. I've been slacking lately, but trying to get back out there. I've also done instruction on a personal level. So I do basic handgun classes, tactical handgun classes from beginner to advanced.
Okay.
We also, I'm certified through the state of Texas to provide the concealed handgun license, which has been really the main staple of the business. I actually look forward to the tactical handgun classes after doing, 3,400 CHL classes.
Right.
And then at the same time, I also do armor work, whether it be on an individual's gun, a movie set, anywhere where armor is needed, really. It's just picking up the extra work. Worked as a gunsmith locally here. Had a great time doing it. But instruction really has taken over a large part of my life. So came on to the Alex Jones show, started working. We did the beta test for Brothers in Arms.
Yes.
Which is in a little bit of limbo right now, but I see a lot of possibility for revival. But that's pretty much the gist of it. That's what I do, how I do it. The CHL, as I said, is really, the concealed handgun license is really the focal point of what we provide, though.
Okay, good. All right, the number to donate for the InfoWars Money Bomb, 1-888-253-3139. Again, that's 1-888-253-3139. And if you have a question from Matt or possibly even from myself, you can call 877-789-ALEX. Once again, the number to call in is 877-789-ALEX, and that will get you on the air with Matt Williams, firearms instructor. Now, Matt, we had a chance to speak a little bit earlier about another topic, that being the Luby's massacre back in 1991, and you thought this was a very significant, I mean, I hate to say that something like this was significant, this shooting, but it brought to light the issue of concealed carry in the state of Texas. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, our legislatures over decades of time have constantly robbed us of our liberties and rights, and they've done it for the safety of a few well, it's really not safety for anyone. The person's already dead. Basically, they've implemented laws making it more restrictive on what we can purchase, what's imported into the country, and what us as civilians can actually own in comparison to our military. There's been a lot of heated debate. We're a civilized nation. We've came a long way in 200 years, but at the same time, the terms of our Second Amendment were put into place for a specific reason. That reason was life, liberty, or death.
It wasn't just a hunt.
It wasn't just actually, to be honest, back then, hunting is a privilege. It's always been a privilege. It's never been a right anywhere on this planet. They implemented it, I believe it was in 2001, Supreme Court acknowledged it for the right of self-defense as well as hunting. It's just self-defense, yes, but they downplayed it. The thing that irritated me is you had the National Rifle Association that was pretty happy and kudos about it. I could see their point. You know, getting hunting as a right is a big step, but the teeth of the Constitution stipulate, you know, that our rights to bear arms shall not be infringed. And it wasn't stating the government, it wasn't stating the military, it was stating the people.
That's right.
And they twist it and contort it and they do everything else to try to change it. And at the end of the day, we need them. I mean, there's crime out there. It's real. And people die every day because of it. In many cases, it's because they don't have a means of self-defense.
That's exactly right.
With the Luby massacre, you had an individual run his truck into the restaurant, get out with 2 handguns.
He was serious.
And he systematically executed people like they were cattle. He wasn't rushing. He was taking his sweet time about it. And anyone who tried to rush him to take him down was shot and killed. And it became a very pivotal point, not only for Texas, but the entire country.
Exactly.
They took forth that step to issue concealed handguns because they realized 911, that's the mop-up crew. They don't stop crime. They try their best, and it's not a lack of their effort.
Right.
It's just not realistic. You don't care how many cops you have on the streets. I don't care what level of power you give them.
Right.
You will never stop crime. It's an inherent nature of mankind. So to rob us of our rights to defend ourselves without being able to guarantee protection, in my opinion, is criminal in itself.
That's a very, very good point. Now, we saw recently in the debates with Barack Obama saying that he wants to ban semi-automatic weapons. So first, can you give me your take on semi-automatic weapons? Do you think that, you know, that's something necessary or even just something that we should be able to have?
Well, that's the whole thing, is people...
Excuse me, fully automatic weapons.
Well, fully automatic weapons, right now, it's been legal to buy and sell fully automatics, weapons, suppressors, destructive devices, certain items called any other weapon, or AOW in the industry, which boils down to pen guns to grenades. A lot of people put the word necessary into it, and it's almost like opening the Bible and interpreting God's word. It's pretty to the point. You know, you either do it or you don't.
Yes.
And the Constitution's pretty much the same way. And our forefathers had the brilliance, had the capability, and had the realistic approach of what was going on with the British. They knew that there may be a day where we may need those guns to fight off tyranny once again. And that is why it was put in there. Not for self-defense of someone who's going to break into your house, which is definitely an application.
Definitely.
And it's been real popular lately, as per your stories. But hunting had nothing to do with it. Matter of fact, you know, in Europe, only the rich hunt. It was an aristocrat sport.
Right.
You know, poor people didn't hunt. Matter of fact, there's people who are hung for hunting on private lands.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, you'd be either incarcerated or executed, depending on your crime. So you couldn't hunt on it. It was a big crime. It was like how the Wild West was with cattle wrestling. You steal someone's cow, you paid the price.
Right. Now, if you touched on something that's really good, you said that when we talk about the Second Amendment right, we talk about, you know, somebody's their right to bear an arm. You know, it's nothing that can be given to you from the government. I really messed that sentence up. But getting back on the topic now.
It's midday.
Yeah. So, you know, when you have the Second Amendment right, it's your right to bear arms. It's nothing that they can give you, your government can give you, because they can't be there to protect you all the time. And going a little step further than that, you had the excellent point that, you know, the Second Amendment right isn't not to just to hunt or to fight off some guy who may break into your house at 3 a.m. It's to stop a tyranny, which could be your government. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of people don't want to talk about that, but you bring up the point that if need be, you know, even here in the United States of America, you may have to fight off your government to some extent.
It may not.
For your rights.
It could be a multitude of things. It could be civil unrest, mass disobedience. It could be invasion. It could be it could be revolution. It could be a lot of things. You got to keep in mind the people, the frameworkers of our Constitution developed it in a time where they just got finished fighting the British.
Yes,
it's not like they didn't know what they were talking about. It's not like these weren't the scholars of their generation.
Right.
These people knew very damn well what was being done. Matter of fact, when Thomas Jefferson wrote that,
right,
and it was revised, the only change that was revised is the capitalization of letters.
Okay.
That's the only thing that they changed. They say they put a comma in there, and the comma was for a brief pause to allow the militia to keep arms. Well, that's ridiculous. It's redundant. Mm-hmm. Of course a militia is going to have it. A lot of people say the militias are United States military. It's not. The militia is a well-regulated militia. Well, the term well-regulated 200 years ago meant disciplined and trained.
Yes.
So that could be anybody. So it's just an organization. Keep in mind, we fought off the British, not with a military, but with an organized militia.
Well-regulated militia.
Just like you and me.
Yes. Okay, well, we got loaded phones. All right, not to cut you off, Matt.
Sorry.
Let's say Scott in Virginia. Let's hear what you got, Scott.
Hey, guys. First-time caller. I just wanted to know, you said we have a right to bear arms, which I agree with. I just wanted to know about the access to ammunition. Do you think they'll tax it like cigarettes in order to curb our availability to have it? I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Thank you, guys.
Matt?
It's a great question. Actually, they've been taxing it for the last 20 years. I used to be able to go out and buy ammunition for pennies on the dollar in comparison to what it is today. I mean, literally, I'd say 20 years ago, I could buy it for what you reload for now. And when you reload, it's like 10 cents on the dollar. They have taxed it to a degree, but you also got to look into the components of the precious metals, the brass, the copper, the lead, and so forth. That also actually commands a premium. I do see them wanting to tax it. They've attempted to do it before. They'll try to do it again. It is our job as Americans to, every time they try one of these things, to meet them at that line and that door with our teeth bared. If you cower, if you say, okay, and become complacent because you're on your couch with your iPad, it's your fault. It's not my fault. It's not anyone else's fault. It's your fault. You didn't take the action to fight back and say, no, this is unacceptable. So I do see it as a constant thing they keep putting in. I think it's a great question. The only way to combat it is, as I said, to meet them at the hilt. Don't let them push these things onto you. We get taxed to death as it is. Most of our taxes, well, I wouldn't say most, but a good portion of them go overseas, where our interests really aren't met.
Yeah, the bankers over there.
Yeah.
The number to call in is 877-789. Alex, let's go to our next caller. Manon in Alaska, you are on the air.
Oh, I'm so excited, Jakari. Oh, you're my favorite. I'm so excited. I'm donating tonight.
Please donate. The number is 888-253-3139. Please go ahead with your question and or comment.
Okay, my question and or comment. I would like to know how to let you know about some old movies about GMOs with your email, but I know it's only appropriate for your guest to get this question. I really have a big question because I've been around lots of Mormon people, and I've been in their storehouses, right, especially up here in Alaska, and I saw all kinds of ordnance and reloading and powder, and I mean, these people have, they've been preppers for eons, And I'm just curious as to what your guest thinks as to why the certain candidate isn't puffed more, because I could go to a whole bunch of Mormon people's houses now. These people are high up,
right,
and they've been loading shells forever.
So just so I can give him a specific question, can you tone that down to a specific question?
I don't know what to do, Jakari, because I'm just so excited. I'm actually talking to you. You don't know how popular you are up here in Anchorage. My friend Eileen Bear, she has a Grand Duchess furniture store. She's got the papers there, and she and her husband love you, and they'd love for you to come up and be able to speak. She'd host an event.
Wow.
You're very popular. You're very popular, young man.
All right, Alex, you heard that. Get me on the plane to Alaska.
Yeah, please. We'll do all we can.
Thank you. Matt, go ahead with your response.
It's real simple. I don't pretend to speak for the Mormon people. I'm not a Mormon. I have some friends that are Mormons. From what it's been told to me, it's part of their faith to have 2 years of preparations for survival purposes. It's not something that's new. It's something that they've been doing for a couple hundred years.
Is that correct? Are you still on the line? No? Okay. All right, go ahead, man.
So basically, it's just in their nature. One of the largest prepper communities you'll see, some of the largest firearm sales you'll see, ammunition sales, are based out of Utah. You know, they're avid shooters.
Right.
It's really that simple.
So they stay prepped. Okay, we'll go now to Stephanie in Texas. Welcome to the show, Stephanie.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. I've got a couple questions for Matt. Matt, I've got a concealed weapons license. When I lived in Virginia, I've been here in Austin for about 1.5 years. And when I was in my class, I know that Texas recognized Virginia, you know, to be able to have a concealed weapon.
Correct.
But now that I'm a resident in Texas, do I need to get a concealed weapons license here because I'm a resident?
No. We have reciprocity in 33 states, so does Virginia. So basically what happens is when you move here, previous to 2007, yes, you would have had to relicense. But since 2007, the reciprocity has become more firm with these states, in which case you only have to, you will have to retake the exam when yours expires. You can't renew it. You'll actually have to take the Texas exam, which is a full course. But your CHL is good until the date of expiration.
Okay, one more quick question.
Sure.
So I only have one handgun at this time, and I wanted to get another one. It's registered. I know they're going to come, you know, eventually, and I'd like to get a couple more to, you know, bury, whatever. And is it possible to do that legally without registering?
Yeah, in the state of Texas, there is no registration. Yeah, Texas is very unique to the country, as you can well imagine, when it comes to firearms. We are actually the only place in the United States where you can take a firearm into the Capitol building. They actually welcome it.
Wow.
Matter of fact, there's the general public line, and then there's the concealed handgun license line. It will take you anywhere between 20 to 45 minutes to get through the standard line. Concealed handgun license, 2 to 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. Okay. All right. So I can just go to a gun show and pick out what I want, and I'm good to go.
You're here in Austin?
Yes.
Yeah, there's actually a gun show this weekend, and there's actually several great shops in the area as well.
Okay. Well, can you tell me quickly where the gun show is this weekend?
The Saxett Gun Show is going to be on North Lamar and... yeah, no, I can't. But
that was a good effort.
Yeah, if you type in Saxett, S-A-X-E-T.
The dress code.
Okay.
Tell me again,
All right,
guys.
I will do.
Okay.
Oh,
All right,
Expo
thanks so
Center.
much.
Yeah, I apologize. Travis County Expo Center. So if you check that out,
great.
you can also check out some of the gun ranges. You know, and everyone's really apt with ladies purchasing handguns. There's a growing number of it. So feel free, you know, go have fun with it.
I spent a lot of time at the gun range in Virginia when I got my weapon. I've never really used one, so I did pretty good, actually.
And I might suggest the Gunfighters Clinic when you have to requalify for your concealed carry
If you need
carry
any
permit.
license, if you need any instruction, give us a call.
All right, will do. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. You have a wonderful evening.
All right.
All right, thank you. And we'll move on now to Jack in Texas. You're on the air, Jack.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Real good.
Hey, I'm going to put you on the hot spot. 1968 Gun Act. You already know about it. My point is I know plenty of felons, unfortunately, that have they still conceal carry, and they don't care. And their motto is, if you get caught concealed carry, you're a dummy. How do you guys feel about that?
I know well, not law-abiding citizens, but I know people with non-criminal records who carry with no license.
Well, just to give our audience a little background, the 68 Gun Control Act said that that's where they came up with a law where if you're a convicted felon, you can't carry a handgun. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, and even in the state of Texas, convicted felons can have firearms. They just have to wait till 5 years after the last date of any kind of time served, and that firearm has to remain in their house. But yes, in the state of Texas, felons can have guns.
Well, I didn't know that.
And the point I was making is a lot of these guys are veterans of wars, and what there is they're not out to harm anybody, but their mindset is this: if something goes down, I'm gonna be there.
Have you ever heard
Does
this
that make
old?
any sense?
Oh, absolutely. Have you ever heard the old adage? It's best to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I live in Austin, and we are kind of liberal, so it's gonna bite either way.
That's why I try to stay on the outskirts, buddy. I completely feel you on that.
Okay, yeah, that was it, man. I was hoping I'd get you guys nervous, but apparently I didn't.
No. Actually, I covered that a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it's Alex ran in there. He said, "Talk about the 68 Gun Control Act." So I knew a little bit about it. Yeah,
there's they keep passing. There's the 1934. There was 1968. Then they had the 86 ban. The 86 ban stopped all new manufactured machine guns from getting transferred over into civilian hands. And then you had the Clinton ban, which was in 93, 92, 93. And that had a 10-year sunset.
No, it was 93.
Yeah, and it did absolutely nothing. Crime actually went up.
Yes.
Yeah, criminals don't go and buy guns at gun shops.
Get you guys all stirred up, and it didn't work. But stand true.
I appreciate you trying.
Man. All right. Thanks for your call. All right. The number to donate is 1-888-253-3139. That's for the InfoWars Money Bomb, our 48-hour broadcast. I'm sitting right here with Matt Williams, firearms instructor, and we will take another call. Is that Dan in Hawaii?
Yes,
are you there? Go ahead.
Hawaii.
Go ahead, sir.
Hey, I had a question. I live in Hawaii, which is one of the top 5 most restricted areas as far as gun ownership, and I'm just wondering if you guys had any comment on what we can do to change that. Here in Hawaii, I live on one of the smallest islands. We used to have 2 firing ranges. You were allowed to carry your gun from your home to the firing range or from your home to hunt, but now that the firing ranges have closed, it's basically illegal to carry a gun in your vehicle. In Hawaii, there's no concealed carry permit. You're not allowed to concealed carry, and I was just wondering if I could get any insight from either one of you guys as to how restrictive it really is. Are we really in the top 5 as one of the most restrictive states as far as gun laws?
Okay, I'll let Matt answer that. I'm just curious, what do you hunt in Hawaii?
We hunt boars, which are wild pig. We also have goats. So I live on Kauai, which is the smallest island, the oldest island, the farthest west. And we got the wild boars. Great. It's called Kalua pork. So if you ever come to Hawaii, get the Kalua pork. It's excellent.
Yeah, no, I've always wanted to actually do that. I always wanted to come to Hawaii. The best thing I can tell you is numbers. Get as many people as you possibly can that are advocates of firearms, and then storm your local legislature. Let him know that all of you want to have a right to self-defense. Outside of a spear gun, you're in pretty much trouble then.
Absolutely, and we also have a 3-step system. When you're going hunting, you have to have the gun in one area, the ammunition in another area, and it's got to be out of your reach. So it's very restrictive, and like I said, there's no concealed carry allowance here. So if you're caught with a gun in your vehicle and it's within reach, you can get convicted of a felony, and it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, I've never heard I've never been to Hawaii. I've always wanted to go. I hope to one day take my girlfriend out there, but not knowing the area, the populace, and knowing most of the lower 48's populace, it's hard for me to comment. But the best way to change that's with your local government. Thankfully, it's a very small government and small state, so you don't have to go far. But
it's one of the most liberal states in the United States. The island I live on has a population of about 50,000 local residents and about 20 to 30,000 tourists. So luckily the crime rate's really low, but it would be nice to be able to have the option to protect your
And I tell you what, if I came out there, one of the reasons I'd want to come out is actually go boar hunting. I hear the boar hunting's fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Those boars are dangerous, so most of the locals go with the dogs, and the dogs wear them out, if you can't get them with the first shot. And we got some amazing hiking and hunting and fishing and sightseeing, and yeah, you guys would love it. Good. Come out in the winter. Yeah, humpback whales are coming through.
All right, we definitely appreciate your call, Dan. We're going to move pretty quick to get to our last two callers. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Is that Ryan in Wyoming?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, Ryan, what's your question?
Hey, how's it going?
Going real good.
My question is, I know that it's you legally have to register your firearm when you purchase it from a dealer. But do you think it's right? Do you think I should have to do that?
Hold on. First and foremost, where in Wyoming you have to register? Because it's it's not a federal requirement.
Colorado. I'm calling from Wyoming.
Okay, I can't speak for law outside of the state of Florida, federal law, or the state of Texas. However, I can tell you this. Gun registration is not done by the federal government. It's done by the local or state government. So you'd have to check in with that. Once again, rolling back to a previous question on the last call, that's something you get with your state legislature about. There's only like 5 states in the country that I think of that you need to register a handgun. I can tell you Texas definitely isn't one.
Right.
And that form you fill out when you purchase the handgun, you know what I'm talking about?
Is it the ATF form?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys get a document cam shot? Because actually I wanted to talk about this, but go ahead with your question.
Yeah, this document right here basically has to be kept on file by the FFL, which is a federally firearms licensed dealer, for a period of 20 years. If you buy more, well, they have different laws in Texas, New Mexico, California, and Arizona, thanks to Eric Holder. But here, if you buy more than one gun, a special letter has to go to the ATF to notify them of not only you, but the weapons you purchased. So that's like one of the stories that you'd mentioned earlier, Jakari, about the individual who was being harassed for ammo.
Yes.
It was the dealer that sold them out. No one else would have known.
Right.
So he was suspicious. He made the phone call. Some dealers will do that. Some dealers adamantly stay away from it. And that's something that you want to consider when you start taking your hard-earned money into a gun shop, is what kind of people are they?
All right. Did he answer your question?
Okay.
Yeah. And check to see if you actually have to get it registered in Colorado. I don't think you do. But
okay.
I'm not certified or licensed there, so it's hard to tell.
If I don't have to get it registered, it's just a good idea not to, right?
Well, it's a violation of your inalienable right. I mean, why should you have to register? That's the bigger question.
Yeah, I don't want to be on a list or anything because I bought a firearm that my right's not supposed to be infringed upon.
Exactly. And I mean, I myself, I'm a public figure in the firearms industry, so I'll do stuff just so they do notify them.
All right. We definitely appreciate your call. We're just trying to get to our last caller. We'll go to David in Georgia. Quick, what is your question, sir?
Yeah, hi. I just want to say good evening to both of you.
Good evening.
Long-time listener, first caller. I just had a couple of questions recommending to friends and family, like what kind of firearms they should purchase if they've never had one, or if they should get a handgun and a rifle, or what kind of weapons does Matt recommend to first-time buyers? It's
a really broad question. Men and women are different.
You have about a minute to answer.
Ooh, okay. This is Jeopardy. We have... Alex Trebek's going to sue us now. Basically, comfort's a big factor. Do not get the little cute pink gun for the wife. They usually recoil very violently. She'll shoot 4 or 5 rounds out of it, yell at you for it, and never shoot it again. So she won't develop the kind of proficiency she needs with that weapon in order to repel an attack. If it's for a lady, don't get a small gun. Get a big gun. Big guns absorb recoil. That recoil is one of the main factors that intimidates them not to learn more. So make sure she's comfortable. When she grabs that gun and it feels good in the hand, that's the gun she needs.
Okay, real quick. Home defense. What do you recommend?
Home defense.
One gun.
12 gauge.
12 gauge. All right, that's it for our section of the InfoWars Money Bomb. I definitely want to thank Matt Williams for sitting in with us. His site is gunfightersclinic.com. The number to donate is 1-888-253-3139. Thanks for watching.
Is that Conan music?
Is it?
Yeah.
Battle cry!